Chapter 1997. Night Sorrow, who had been worried about Zhuodong, was now relieved. King Yewu's words had guaranteed the safety of Zhuodong and his brothers. As for his own team, Night Sorrow was not worried because he was confident that he could solve the crisis. The natural environment of Samsara Island was harsh, but he had a unique advantage because of his taboo attribute. The difficulties that others had to face were nothing to him. In addition, the void purple light snake that was fatal to others was not a threat to him. After reminding Zhuodong, Lin Yun, and Long Jin to be careful, Night Sorrow saluted King Yewu and left the camp with his team. As for the areas that the two teams needed to explore, Night Sorrow had already divided them. Night Sorrow and Zhuodong each took a copy of the map drawn by Lingling last time. Night Sorrow had divided the exploration areas on it. After the team set off, Night Sorrow told Long Jin and Tianyu's original body to inform him immediately if the other team was in trouble. Night Sorrow also gave the command of the team to Long Jin. He intended to let the team adapt to the rhythm and take action if there was a problem. Long Jin had no problem leading the team because he had a high prestige among the sergeants of the First Army. When Night Sorrow was not there, he was also the leader of the god-slaying team. After taking over the command, Long Jin ordered the team's scouts to explore the area. Yi Shang followed behind the team, thinking about how to solve the problem of Samsara Island once and for all. The area of Samsara Island was too large. With his current speed, it would take him more than 10 days to traverse the island, let alone explore it. It was difficult to prevent others from landing on such a large area. Moreover, such a long exploration was not a long-term solution. The team moved forward and killed the dragon-headed and snake-headed men when they encountered them. "Captain, what are you thinking about?" Flower Without Words asked. Version 8 first release A. If we keep defending, we'll lose. Reincarnation Island is too big. It'll be difficult for us to stop the Demon Wing clan from reaching the island. If they really want to sneak in, we won't necessarily know, Night Sorrow said. That's right. Samsara Island is huge. We don't know when or where they landed. Tiger Cold said. Tiger Cold's team, which had just been promoted from reserve, was now following Night Sorrow's team. Spies. It would be great if we could have spies on the island, but that's not realistic. If the environment wasn't so bad, we could find a beast tamer to surround the island with monsters and use them as spies. There's nothing we can do now, Night Sorrow said. Those with poor survivability won't be able to survive on Samsara Island, not to mention a large number of spies. This method is very difficult to achieve. Long Jin said. Samsara Island was too big. Even 10 Tianhuang cities couldn't compare to it. The problem of spies was very difficult to solve. In our spiritual tree world, there's a kind of tree called the stone tree. It has this name because their cultivation aptitude isn't high. If they succeed, it'll be the same as making stones bloom. However, their defense is very strong and their adaptability is very strong. If we bring them here, will it solve the problem? Flower Without Words said. There's such a situation? Are you sure they can withstand the Nirvana storm? Night Sorrow looked at Flower Without Words in surprise. They should be able to. Won't we know if we try? Flower Without Words didn't dare to say too much. Chuyu, tell Sister Xian Er about this and let her contact the Grand Elder to see how feasible this matter is, Night Sorrow said to Sikong Chuyu. Although it wasn't convenient for him to do this, Night Sorrow still had a way to contact the outside world. After Sikong Chuyu's original body told Lin Piaomiao went to Tianhuang City to report to the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder was very efficient. He immediately found the Spiritual Tree Elder to ask about this matter. The Stone Tree is a mutant of the Spiritual Tree clan. They are good at defense. However, whether they can withstand the Nirvana storm is still unknown. In addition, there aren't enough of them, the Spiritual Tree Elder said. It's not that hard to confirm whether they can withstand the Nirvana storm. Let them try it in the Nirvana storm outside Tianhuang City. If it works, then it'll be easy. If not, I'll immediately send a message to Night Sorrow and ask him to think of another way, the Grand Elder said. The Spiritual Tree Elder nodded and returned to the Spiritual Tree clan to handle this matter. It was related to the safety of the 100 clans in Celestial Realm. Any clan that could contribute would not be stingy. The team led by Night Sorrow continued to advance. There were many battles, but it was mostly the members of the god-slaying team who fought. The ability of the members of the god-slaying team to fight together opened the eyes of the 4 teams in the first army. They originally thought that their cooperation was very good, but after seeing the members of the god-slaying team fight together, they knew that they were still far from it. The cooperation between the members of the god-slaying team was simply an art. A few people fighting together was like a single person cooperating with their hands and feet. The transition between attack and defense was perfect. There were no gaps. We originally thought that we were doing very well, but in fact, we are still far from it, Tiger Cold said. Hu Han said. White Meng Meng and Bai Lingling also nodded. They had never even imagined such a battle scene. Everyone's understanding of formations is similar. The first army is inferior to the god-slaying team in that the trust between the brothers is not as high as the god-slaying team. For example, during a battle, the main attacker of the god-slaying team doesn't have to worry about his back at all. This is because he knows that as long as he has brothers by his side, his back will not be attacked, Night Sorrow said. The soldiers of the first army cupped their hands at the members of the god-slaying team. Today they had seen what trust was and what brothers were. The members of the god-slaying team also impressed them. Actually, this is not the case. There are pros and cons in human nature. This is also the reason why there are not many members in the god-slaying team. The brothers who join the team need everyone's approval. If they don't get everyone's approval, they will always be temporary members. This is because we can only rely on our brothers to protect our backs, Night Sorrow said. 7 days later, Sikong Chuyu told Night Sorrow about the results of the spirit tree race. The idea was feasible, but only stone trees above the saint level could withstand the nirvana storm. There were not many stone trees above the saint level in the spirit tree realm. They could only defend a part of the reincarnation island. The Grand Elder had already made arrangements for this matter. When the arrangements were more or less done, the stone trees would be brought to the reincarnation island. Night Sorrow was very happy to hear this news. After all, being able to defend a part of the island was already a very good result. It would be great if we could control the void purple light snakes. The reincarnation island is the home of the void purple light snakes, Night Sorrow said. The void purple light snakes are too domineering. If we could control them, why would we be spies? No matter how many people we send, they won't be able to kill us, Bai Lingling said. Bai Lingling said. She knew how powerful the Nihility Violet Light Snake was. Last time, she had almost died when she encountered one. It was Yi Shan who had used his power of virtue to pull her clone back from the gates of hell. She still remembered it vividly. Chapter 1998. Controlling the void purple light snake is just a thought. Everyone knows how tyrannical that thing is. Let's go, let's continue. Night Sorrow said. The void purple light snake was a special product of a unique region. It was very hard to subdue it. Night Sorrow didn't find any opportunities. The 2 teams were still investigating. The Heaven Desolate City's 100 Races elders were helping the Spirit Tree Elder arrange the stone tree. In the 9 regions world, Mo Tianji was still investigating. Without any accurate information, she didn't dare to make a move. This was because when they attacked Ethereal Imperial City's Night Moon Manor, Night Sorrow displayed the cultivation of a peak middle-class emperor. Mo Tianji wasn't afraid of Night Sorrow at the same cultivation level. Now, she could fight King with her temporary body. She wasn't even afraid of monarchs, but against Emperor Kings, she had to run. Every day, she spent her time in tea houses and restaurants. Mo Tianji's understanding of Night Sorrow and the 9 regions world was getting deeper and deeper. At the same time, she was getting more and more shocked. The 9 regions world had only truly developed for 1,000 years. 1,000 years ago, the 9 regions world didn't have a king, or even a saint king. It was all history. In less than 1,000 years, the 9 regions world had developed to the point where saint kings were everywhere. Even kings were often seen on the streets. It was hard to imagine. Mo Tianji, who was drinking tea in a restaurant, sighed. Her heart was full of shock. Even though there was a life and death grudge between them, Mo Tianji still felt admiration for Night Sorrow. 1,000-year emperor was too incredible. Mo Tianji had lived for 8 eras and had seen too many geniuses. These geniuses were all trash in front of Night Sorrow. They couldn't be compared at all. The difference was too great. 1,000-year king was already an incredible talent. There wasn't even an emperor in 1,000 years, let alone an emperor. One had to know that there were too many bottlenecks and insurmountable chasms. Mo Tianji thought back. She was known as the most outstanding genius in the history of the Devil Wing race and had immortal potential. However, she used 2,000 years to become an emperor, and even longer to cultivate as an emperor. She used a few 100,000 years to cultivate as an emperor. She couldn't be compared to Knight Sorrow at all. Moat T new chapter ends super with this comparison. Mo Tianji did not feel discouraged. Instead, she became even more cautious. Mo Tianji could not use the teleportation formation in the city in the sky. She had to fly to investigate from afar. When she found that there was a formation with the mystic Ice Kirin Tiger King as the core, she could only retreat. She had no chance at all. Mo Tianji also found out that Knight Sorrow had a clone in the Nine Regions world. The Yi clan also had an emperor. It was a dangerous place for her. Through her investigation, Mo Tianji was certain that apart from Lin Piaomiao, who had the title of Battle Empress, Knight Sorrow also had a wife who was a peak imperial emperor and a son who was a monarch. Even if these people were to travel in the celestial realm, their avatars or true bodies would remain in the Nine Domains world. That was something she could not resist at the moment. After combining all the information, Mo Tianji felt very powerless. She could not attack the city in the sky. She didn't dare to touch the Nine-Domain Origin Chi barrier around the Heaven Sealing Hall because she didn't know if the Nine-Domain Origin Chi would confirm the bloodline or the soul. If it confirmed the soul, then she would be attacked if she got close. She would have to bear the risk. Although she couldn't attack half of the Nine-Domain Origin Chi barrier, this made Mo Tianji a bit anxious because it was a waste of time for her. On this day, Knight Sorrow's Nine Regions avatar went to the Nine Regions city to see the Qing Emperor and celebrate with the Qing Emperor. The Qing Emperor had cultivated in the celestial realm for more than 700 years and successfully entered the imperial realm. Because the Nine Regions avatar could not go to the celestial realm, Knight Sorrow could only drink with his master in the Nine Regions city. Seeing Knight Sorrow and the Qing Emperor separate and leave the Nine Regions city through the teleportation array, Mo Tianji gritted her teeth and decided to see if the Nine Regions defensive barrier could stop her from entering. If they didn't stop her, she would be able to rush into the Nine Region defense barrier and find her true body. Mo Tianji was sure that her true body was in the space below the Sky Ceiling Grand Hall. The space barrier couldn't stop her. Mo Tianji went to the back of the Heaven Sealing Palace and put one hand into the Nine Regions Origin Energy barrier. She first let the Nine Regions Origin Energy identify her body. This could confuse the Nine Regions Origin Energy. There was no reaction. Mo Tianji's body flashed and rushed toward the Nine Regions Origin Energy barrier. Bang! With a muffled sound, Mo Tianji's body was sent flying. The Nine Regions World Origin had not existed for long, but it had been with Knight Sorrow for many years. Therefore, it knew that Mo Tianji's soul origin did not belong to the Nine Regions world. It directly sent Mo Tianji back and the origin energy rushed into Mo Tianji's body to destroy it. Damn it! After cursing, Mo Tianji's soul left her body and fled. Because if she was too slow, Knight Sorrow would arrive. She knew that Knight Sorrow and the Nine Regions Origin could communicate at any time. Knight Sorrow, who was drinking tea with Father Gu in the city in the sky, stood up and went to the Nine Regions city. He went to the corpse that had been killed by the Nine Regions World Origin Energy. At that moment, the woman's body was already a pile of ashes. She had been burned by the Nine Regions Origin Energy. The body is from the Nine Regions, but the soul is not. She must have been possessed. The Nine Regions Origin body appeared beside Knight Sorrow. The Nine Regions Origin bead was in the divine sea of Knight Sorrow's true body, but the Nine Regions Origin could still manifest in the Nine Regions world. This matter is still a little serious. Pay attention to that skeleton. Besides me, kill anyone who comes close or has ulterior motives. No matter who it is, Knight Sorrow said to the Nine Regions Origin body. No matter who it was, Knight Sorrow emphasized these words. There were too many people in the Nine Regions world who could be possessed. However, in order to not make a mistake with Mo Tianji's skeleton, he could only make this decision. At that moment, Knight Sorrow was sure that Mo Tianji's soul had come to the Nine Regions world. However, Knight Sorrow could not determine how it had come. After explaining things to the Nine Regions Origin, Knight Sorrow returned to the city in the sky. Then, he set up a sealing array around the teleportation array. In other words, no matter who came, as long as they did not understand the array, they would be suppressed and killed. Then, Knight Sorrow called for Datura, whose true body was in the city in the sky. Aluo, inform all our family members to return to the city in the sky. Also, ask Sister Xian to come over and bring a few diviners. What's wrong? Datura looked at Night Sorrow in surprise. She had never seen Night Sorrow so serious before. If I'm not wrong, Mo Tianji's soul has come to the 9 regions world. Night Sorrow said to Datura. How could this be? Wait here. I'll inform Sister Xian to come over immediately. Datura knew how serious the situation was. Looking at the lake below the city in the sky, Night Sorrow went into deep thought. This was a huge crisis. Mo Tianji's soul power was very strong. If she wanted to possess someone, a rank 9 emperor could stop her. However, it would be difficult for anyone below rank 9 to stop her. There were only a few emperors in the 9 regions world. After receiving the news, Lin Piaomiao brought a few diviners and all the emperors of the Piaomiao dynasty to the 9 regions city. After confirming that Lin Piaomiao had arrived, Night Sorrow also arrived at the 9 regions city. He brought a group of people into the city lord's mansion. Night Sorrow, are you sure? Lin Piaomiao asked. I'm almost certain. Now, we just need to see how to defend and capture her. Night Sorrow's face was filled with killing intent. Chapter 1999. Night Sorrow then told her about how the 9-realm origin energy had killed a Saint King cultivator. He said that the body belonged to the 9-realm world, but the soul was not the key. Possession. If it's not the 9-realm world soul, then it's most likely Mo Tianji, Lin Piaomiao said. Afterward, the clairvoyant divined that the body Mo Tianji possessed had been burned to ashes and that a soul had flown away. Then, the divined image was no longer clear. I can't be wrong. It's her. Seeing the scene, Yi Shang was sure that the soul was Mo Tianji. There's a spatial treasure in the center of the soul. Mo Tianji's resources are all with her, so she has a way to interfere with our divinations. She was only able to do it because the 9-realm origin suppressed her treasure, Lin Piaomiao said. How can we prevent that? She can possess someone's body at any time. Her soul power is tyrannical. If she wants to kill someone, it'll be very difficult for anyone below the emperor to stop her. Night Sorrow was a bit anxious because this was a great crisis. Don't worry too much. She doesn't dare to go to the city in the sky. Our family members are all in the city in the sky. Also, the emperor of the Misty Dynasty is here. He's guarding the teleportation channels in the Medicine Valley and Night Moon City. If she dares to go, she'll be discovered. Also, I suspect that she's been tricked so many times that she won't dare to go to those key areas. Maybe she'll find a normal person to possess and then find a place to cultivate, Lin Piaomiao said after thinking for a moment. We can only strengthen the defenses. Our family members must return to the city in the sky. Without my orders, they're not allowed to go out. Also, quickly contact Jun Xuanji. Her clone is in the Celestial Realms Humanitarian League headquarters. Where is her real body? After making some arrangements, Night Sorrow thought of Jun Xuanji. Possessing Jun Xuanji was the fastest way for Mo Tianji to rise apart from taking back her real body. Some defenses were quickly carried out with Night Sorrow's orders. Jun Xuanji's real body was in the Celestial Realm, so there was no need for him to return. Lin Piaomiao's doppelganger went to the Medicine Valley while Datura went to the Night Moon City. The two of them observed carefully. Once Mo Tianji's soul body arrived, it would be discovered. Night Sorrow's 9-domain avatars stayed in 9-domain city. Under his careful observation, he would be able to detect Mo Tianji entering 9-domain city. Mo Tianji knew that she had been exposed. She knew that she had underestimated the spiritual intelligence of the 9-domain worlds. She didn't dare to go to the key areas of the 9-domain worlds, but she wasn't without a goal. Mo Tianji's target was the Nether Realm. She planned to possess Zhu Jiuyun's body. Zhu Jiuyun's body had high potential and was more suitable for him. Furthermore, she thought of a sentence in her destiny. The demonic wing emperor had 2 golden horns. If she could successfully possess his body, that sentence might come true. Mo Tianji really wanted to become the emperor of the demonic wing race. Zhu Jiuyun's original body was with Jun Xuanji. The two of them had fought side by side with Night Sorrow before, so they had a very good relationship. Xuanji, our world is very interesting. I never dared to think of such a situation before. In the past, even the 8th level was unreachable. Now we are trying to break through to the Emperor realm. I have thought about it. If I enter the Emperor realm, I will call myself Great Emperor Nine Cloud, Zhu Jiuyun said. Aren't you ashamed? Great Emperor Nine Cloud? Who in the celestial realm calls themselves Great Emperor? Jun Xuanji glared at Zhu Jiuyun and said, That's true. This title is too big. But so what? I will call myself Great Emperor Nine Cloud in the 9 domain worlds. If I go to the Nether realm and tell the people that I am Great Emperor Nine Cloud, who will dare to bite me? Night Sorrow won't care about this, Zhu Jiuyun thought for a moment and said. All right. You win. Your shamelessness is unparalleled. Jun Xuanji looked at Zhu Jiuyun with disdain. Suddenly, Zhu Jiuyun stopped moving. Xuanji, inform Night Sorrow that my doppelganger has been possessed. After speaking, Zhu Jiuyun sat down cross-legged. She wanted to close her mind and use her doppelganger to resist the possession. Jun Xuanji was anxious. His doppelganger left the Humanitarian League and started to teleport. He teleported to the 9 domains world almost continuously. Then, he found Night Sorrow and told him that Zhu Jiuyun had been possessed. Night Sorrow's energy burst out and wrapped Jun Xuanji around him as he rushed towards the Nether realm. He felt that he had been too careless. Of all his calculations, he didn't expect Mo Tianji to possess Zhu Jiuyun. When Night Sorrow arrived at the Nether realm, Jun Xuanji's doppelganger told Night Sorrow that Zhu Jiuyun had lost contact with his doppelganger. This meant that Mo Tianji had possessed his doppelganger. When Night Sorrow arrived at the palace of the Nether realm, he didn't see Zhu Jiuyun. Mo Tianji had immediately run away after successfully possessing Zhu Jiuyun. Why would she wait for Night Sorrow to catch her? After hearing this, Night Sorrow was furious. He contacted Lin Piaomiao and asked her main body to take Zhu Jiuyun to the Grand Elder. Night Sorrow was afraid that his doppelganger would be possessed and harm Zhu Jiuyun's main body. Night Sorrow had been looking at the spatial tunnel between the Nether realm and the 9 domains world until Luo Yuandao and Peng Wanli arrived. The two of them helped Night Sorrow guard this place. He wanted to trap Mo Tianji in the Nether realm. Night Sorrow didn't find a clairvoyant because he knew how cunning Mo Tianji was. He had to guard the entrance and exit of the Nether realm and search within the Nether realm. After returning to the 9 domain city, Night Sorrow pondered for a while but still couldn't come up with a good idea. The Nether realm wasn't small. It wouldn't be easy to find Mo Tianji who was hiding. Night Sorrow, that Mo Tianji is a huge threat. We have to get rid of her. Lin Piaomiao was worried because Mo Tianji's existence was a threat to the Night Clan. The Nether realm is a little special in the 9 domains world. Although it is a part of the 9 domains world, there are still spatial barriers. I have already told the 9 domains world's origins to guard the spatial barriers. If there are any tremors, they will inform me. Also, the teleportation array is guarded by Luo Yuandao. Even if Mo Tianji possessed Zhu Jiuyun, she wouldn't be a match for Luo Yuandao in a short time. Night Sorrow said in a low voice. But this isn't a solution. Datura said. I won't give her too much time. Once the matter at Reincarnation Island calms down, my main body and doppelganger will rush back. I don't believe that I can't find her. Night Sorrow's face was filled with killing intent. We have enough time. How about this? No need for others. I will send my doppelganger to guard the teleportation array. You will personally guard the spatial barriers. Lin Piaomiao said to Night Sorrow. Look at equals original chapter HE above. Alright. Last time she was in a spiritual body. I didn't see her shadow, so she ran away. This time, don't let me find her shadow. If I do, I will kill her. I will destroy her soul so that she won't have the chance to cause trouble again. Night Sorrow was really angry. Zhu Jiuyun was one of his best friends. He was furious that Mo Tianji had possessed his doppelganger. Also, Night Sorrow was sure that Mo Tianji wouldn't possess Zhu Jiuyun's body temporarily. She would really fuse with him later. Zhu Jiuyun's cultivation talent was high. If she wanted to stay temporarily, Mo Tianji could do it at any time. She wouldn't waste her time to possess a heaven monarch. Chapter 2000. After sealing the Nether realm, Night Sorrow calmed down a little. A few days ago, he did not know about Mo Tianji's actions and he felt a strong sense of danger. Now that Mo Tianji had made her move, Night Sorrow had some idea of what to do in the upcoming confrontation. There was also news that the Grand Elder had used a secret technique to cut off all connections between Zhu Jiuyun's original body and her clone. He had even sealed her soul, spirit sea, body, and blood. Zhu Jiuyun had also returned to the Nine-Region city and handed a white jade bottle to Night Sorrow. That bottle contained the essence blood that the Grand Elder had extracted before her body was sealed. It was a clue to the connection between her and her clone. Jiuyun, this is my fault. I caused you to lose your clone. Night Sorrow said apologetically. A clone was a life. Losing a clone under the Emperor realm meant that one's soul was no longer complete. It would be very difficult to enter the Emperor realm. It could be said that it had destroyed one's future. It's just a doppelganger. That day, when I couldn't hold on any longer, the doppelganger's soul left its body on its own accord. Now that it's back, it's in a hurry to collect the doppelganger's soul power. This way the soul will still be complete. What we lost is just a simple doppelganger. Zhu Jiuyun told Yishang some good news. Fortunately, this is a blessing in disguise. A clone's body is nothing. The soul is the guarantee of one's future. Night Sorrow sighed and patted Zhu Jiuyun's shoulder. Then, he brought Zhu Jiuyun to the Nether Realm City. Mo Tianji did not dare to stay after possessing Zhu Jiuyun's body. She left immediately. She did not have the time nor the intention to destroy the soul of Zhu Jiuyun's clone. In front of the Nether Realm City Lord Mansion, there were two tall statues. One of them was the City Lord, Night Sorrow, and the other was the Netherworld King, Zhu Jiuyun. Because the statues contained the power of faith of the Netherworld race, the soul of Zhu Jiuyun's clone was hidden in the statues. After collecting the soul power, Zhu Jiuyun heaved a sigh of relief. Night Sorrow, you have to avenge me. Zhu Jiuyun looked at Night Sorrow and said, Of course. Night Sorrow nodded at Zhu Jiuyun. This woman is too despicable. She doesn't look like a woman at all. Capture her and humiliate her first. Ride her first. Zhu Jiuyun waved her arm in the air. She was furious. It's not appropriate. I won't do such a thing. Just kill her. Besides, that body is still yours. Night Sorrow glanced at Zhu Jiuyun and turned to leave. Zhu Jiuyun blushed. She only wanted to vent her anger. She didn't think too much about it. No matter what, that body used to be hers. It was the same height as her original body. Some parts were the same size. It could be said that whoever took over Mo Tianji was the same as taking over her body. Zhu Jiuyun followed Night Sorrow to Nine Domain City. However, he was still too embarrassed to speak. I've wronged you this time. I promise you that I will avenge you. Don't think about such nonsense in your head. Now, go back to the Celestial Realm. Go to Night Moon Villa or the Humanitarian League. Night Sorrow began to chase Zhu Jiuyun away. Night Sorrow was already very happy that Zhu Jiuyun's original body was fine. Zhu Jiuyun nodded at Night Sorrow and left. When the doppelganger was taken over, the original body would still be unstable. Leaving the nine-domain world and staying away from the doppelganger was the safest thing to do. After sending Zhu Jiuyun off, Night Sorrow entered the space under the Sky Ceiling Palace. Looking at Mo Tianji's original body, which seemed to be in a deep sleep, Night Sorrow decided to do something. Night Sorrow wouldn't do something like desecrating Mo Tianji's body. However, it didn't mean that he didn't have any other means. Night Sorrow used the nine-domain origin energy to attack Mo Tianji's body and erase all the imprints in her body. Following Night Sorrow's words, the nine-domain origin energy appeared and seeped into Mo Tianji's original body. It burned the Taoist rhymes and soul imprints on her body. At this moment, Mo Tianji, who was cultivating in the spatial treasure and fusing her soul with her body, opened her eyes. Night Sorrow, how dare you touch my original body? I will never forgive you. Although she wasn't sure what Night Sorrow had done, Mo Tianji's soul could sense that something was wrong with her original body. At this moment, Night Sorrow was above the Nether Realm. Using the nine-domain origin energy, he began to speak. Mo Tianji, I know you can hear me. How dare you take over my nine-domain world's body? I, Night Sorrow, naturally won't tolerate it. Just wait for your original body to be refined. Even if you don't have a bottom line, I won't respect any bottom line. If you want to play, if you want to fight, I, Night Sorrow, will accompany you. Mo Tianji had the urge to tear Night Sorrow apart. Her heart was filled with hatred, but she could only endure it. She knew that her possession had angered Night Sorrow. She had taken over a body, so Night Sorrow was going to destroy one of her bodies. In addition, Mo Tianji also had a slight understanding. Once she recovered her strength, her first battle with Yi Shang would be regarding her true body. Even if she couldn't take it back, she had to destroy it. She couldn't leave it in Yi Shang's hands. Night Sorrow had too many ways to deal with her original body. For example, he could strip her naked and throw her in public in Nine Domain City. Then, she would lose her dignity and her fate would be zero. Whether Night Sorrow would do that or not, Mo Tianji didn't dare to say. Although Night Sorrow had promised not to violate her body, she had no bottom line in front of him. Furthermore, a promise wasn't an oath, so it didn't count for much. After leaving a message in the Nether Realm, Night Sorrow returned to Nine Domain City. He didn't have a way to capture Mo Tianji, so he could only wait. Also, Night Sorrow was sure that Mo Tianji wouldn't be able to do much in the Nether Realm. If she wanted to do something, she would have to leave the Nether Realm. Would Mo Tianji dare to leave the Nether Realm? Obviously, she didn't dare to do so now. As for cultivation achievements, Night Sorrow had already calculated. Last time, after Mo Tianji took over his body, she cultivated to peak Emperor rank in 700 years. If she wanted to reach peak Emperor rank this time, she wouldn't need any less time. However, Night Sorrow didn't need such a long time. As for himself, Night Sorrow never lacked confidence. He felt that he could enter the 9-star Emperor realm at any time. At that time, he would return with his original body and clone and go to the Nether Realm to dig out Mo Tianji. Mo Tianji had some plans in her heart, but before she could execute them, she had to recover some strength. At the very least, she had to have the strength to survive against Night Sorrow. During this period of time, she would be in danger. Although she didn't want to admit it, Mo Tianji was a bit afraid of Night Sorrow because she had suffered too much at his hands. If it wasn't necessary, she didn't want to encounter Night Sorrow. Mo Tianji seized the time to fuse with her body. However, because her original body was being refined by the 9-domain origin flames, she had to endure a lot of pain. She couldn't even concentrate. This situation was torture for her. She even had thoughts of completely severing her connection with her original body, but she wasn't willing to do so. She could only endure it in torment. Night Sorrow led the team and continued to advance. They patrolled Reincarnation Island during the battle, but no one disturbed Night Sorrow, who was walking at the back of the team. Everyone knew about Mo Tianji. Chapter 2001. Mo Tianji cultivated while being tortured every day. She even believed in fate. After meeting Night Sorrow, her fate had changed. She would lose a body if she obtained one. As for why there weren't any consequences for possessing a body in Heaven Wasteland, that was because she had luck in Heaven Wasteland. However, it was different in the Celestial Realm. To Mo Tianji, the most urgent thing was to speed up the fusion of the bodies and gain strength. Then, she could snatch back the original body's soul imprint before it was erased. If the original body was refined, then there would be no aura and soul imprint that belonged to her. Without a soul imprint, it would be difficult to fuse again and it would take some time. Other than that, without a soul imprint, other people could enter her body and refine it. It wasn't a possession, it was just a refinement. It could be used as a treasure or a battle clone. Mo Tianji didn't come out and couldn't come out. Adding on the fact that divination was ineffective, Night Sorrow didn't have any good ideas. He could only focus on cultivation and scouting Reincarnation Island. As they advanced, he would point out areas where the team was lacking. He would also point out areas where the team was lacking. After a long period of scouting, they encountered high cultivation dragon-headed men. Even Emperor ranks couldn't withstand the suppression of this small team. The first army's soldiers were all Emperors. With the Emperors working together, taking care of a low-level Emperor rank wasn't a problem. Even if a middle-level Emperor appeared, there wouldn't be any danger because Long Jin and Tianyu could fight. Long Jin was already an Emperor rank and could easily fight above his rank. Along the way, they encountered a void purple light snake. However, it was rather weak and was caught by Long Jin's dragon claw. Just as it was about to drill into Long Jin's body, it was torn apart and killed by Long Jin. The other team also encountered a void purple light snake. Without Long Jin making a move, Lin Yun killed it. "Captain, there's no need to worry about that team. Lin Yun's combat power is very strong. I've seen that she's a little hesitant and unfamiliar with the battle. That's because she hasn't had enough battle experience. It has nothing to do with her strength or combat talent. After the void purple light snake was suppressed by her domain, its speed decreased and its threat decreased. Killing it became much easier. Seeing that Night Sorrow was a little worried, Long Jin reported the situation of that team. Yes, it's good that I can deal with the void purple light snake. That's our biggest threat on Samsara Island. Night Sorrow nodded. The members of the First Army and the God-slaying team faced the greatest dangers on the Samsara Island, including the dragon-headed man, the snake-headed man, and the void purple light snake. The void purple light snake was the most dangerous one because its defense was low and it would be killed instantly. Bai Lingling was a 9-tailed divine beast with a strong body, but it was also broken in an instant. Night Sorrow and Lin Yun could withstand it because they both had the power of merit. The power of merit was energy that the void purple light snake could not devour. Long Jin could barely withstand it because his golden scales were extremely strong. Now that everything was stable, Night Sorrow continued to lead them forward to investigate. After more than 10 days, the team arrived at the edge of the Samsara Island. There were many nirvana storms and space cracks in this area. The suppression on the First Army and the God-slaying team was much stronger. Long Jin, take the team and camp here. If you need to cultivate, just do it. If there's any danger, inform me. I'll go to the edge of the island to take a look and see which areas need to be heavily guarded. Yishan said to Long Jin before flying away. CW more $I new N most RC fast W% up. Night Sorrow communicated with the team through the soul crystal. In addition, Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi were in the team. Their original bodies were cultivating in the 9-domain world. If there was any danger, they could find Night Sorrow's 9-domain doppelganger to send a message. With the Blood Kirin evil slaying spear on his back, Night Sorrow flew quickly. Except for the extremely aggressive Nirvana storm, there was almost nothing to stop him. This was because the Nirvana storm not only hurt the First Army and the God-slaying team, but also the dragon-headed man and the snake-headed man. Therefore, some areas were also forbidden areas for them and all monsters. Captain won't be in danger, right? After Night Sorrow left for a while, White Meng Meng said with some worry. No, Captain's strength isn't that simple. The void storm puts a lot of pressure on us, but if Captain can fly as he pleases, it won't affect him. After sleeping for 700 years, Captain has become even more unfathomable. Unless we see an expert fight Captain once, we won't be able to see how strong Captain is. Tiger Cold said. Long Jin laughed. There are still smart people. Let's put it this way. Peak Emperors have no chance in front of Captain and will only be killed. Even if an Emperor Tribulation cultivator can withstand Captain's attacks, it's still unknown. If you want to pressure Captain, you have to be an Emperor Tribulation cultivator. Everyone, don't worry. I heard from Sister Xian who is also the Ethereal Battle Empress, that she had sparred with the Great Demon King and Night Sorrow. She relied on her high realm and the abundant energy in her body to slightly suppress Night Sorrow, but she couldn't defeat him. Sikong Chuyu laughed. Her husband was the pride of her heart. Domineering. Flower without words muttered. 13th brother has always been pursuing practical combat strength. He has no shortcomings in attack, defense, and speed. He has absolute arts that complement his own attributes. So you guys should understand, Tianyu said. He had cultivated the space-time realm and knew how freakish the defense of the space-time realm was. Night Sorrow reached the edge of Nirvana Ocean and released his soul power to the maximum. Then, he circled around the edge of Reincarnation Island and began his patrol. While flying, Night Sorrow also analyzed the situation that he scouted. As long as a cultivator landed on the island, there would be traces left behind. For example, the destruction of the environment caused by the impact of a defensive domain. After using 3 months, Night Sorrow scouted the entire coastline of Reincarnation Island. Then, he returned to the campsite of the First Army and the God-slaying team. Captain, what took you so long? Tiger Cold asked. Night Sorrow laughed and said that he flew around the coastline of Reincarnation Island. You scouted around directly? Captain, you finished all the work when we set up camp? Tiger Cold's mouth was wide open. Although he knew that Night Sorrow was efficient, he didn't expect Night Sorrow's scouting to be so efficient. Based on the current situation, It won't be easy for the demon-winged clan to enter Reincarnation Island. If a supreme powerhouse brought his men here, then the opportunity will appear. Lord King Yawu will be able to sense it. Without a supreme powerhouse, ordinary people won't be able to come here immediately. Knight Sorrow said. In public, Knight Sorrow always addressed Lord King Yawu as Lord King Yawu. If he directly addressed him as Martial Uncle, people would think that he was using his status to talk. Captain, based on your analysis, there won't be any problems? Flower Without Words asked. Not completely. What if the other party is worried about the opportunity and opens a spatial tunnel to send people in? At that time, they will directly enter the hinterland of Reincarnation Island and use some methods to hide their aura. It won't be that easy to detect them. Knight Sorrow shook his head. Chapter 2002. War Sky. We can't go in directly. Those old fellows from the 100 Races Alliance might have people on the island. No matter which one of us goes in, we'll be discovered. We aren't afraid of fighting, but we can't afford to fail or be discovered. If the other side is alerted, it will be very disadvantageous for us in the future. If they're prepared, they'll defend the island to the death. It'll be very difficult for us to reach the Celestial Realm with the help of Samsara Island, Utianemo said. Indeed, the Heavenly Concubine situation is unclear. If we fight them to the death, we will be at a disadvantage. But what should we do? Emo Gentian looked at Emo Yutian and asked. Borrowing the power of the sacrificial pagoda, we can open a space-time tunnel to send people in. My doppelganger will bring the Wheel of Life and Death along with the others. However, this will require all the elders of the Demon Ancestor Palace to work together to stabilize the space-time tunnel. Mo Yutian explained his thoughts. Emo Gentian pondered and opened a spatial tunnel to connect the celestial realm to the reincarnation battlefield. Due to the distance and the interference of fate, they could only send in cultivators below the Emperor rank. Now, opening a spatial tunnel to the Reincarnation Island was relatively easy. It was half the distance to the celestial realm. The reincarnation battlefield had become the Reincarnation Island, so the interference of fate was much less. It seems that this is the only way. Yutian, bring some people in and set up the defensive matrix and teleportation matrix. Once the sacrificial tower's energy has recovered, I will arrange for people to open a space tunnel and send some emperors to the celestial realm. Once they set up the teleportation matrix corresponding to the Samsara Island, everything will be done. Emo Gentian nodded. He agreed with Emo Yutian's point of view. For the demon-winged clan, they had to bear some costs and risks. As long as they could break into the celestial realm, all the costs and risks were worth it. The Wheel of Life and Death was an ancestral artifact of the demon race. It could conceal one's aura, but the premise was that one's energy was not exposed. It could only conceal energy that had not been activated. If Emo Yutian were to bring his men over, he would have to use his own domain and energy to resist the Nirvana storm. Under such circumstances, the aura-concealing effect of the Wheel of Life and Death would be useless. However, things would be different if they entered Samsara Island through the space-time tunnel. As long as Emo Gentian did not activate the energy within his body, all auras would be sealed. Emo Gentian left. He was going to communicate with the elders of the Devil Ancestor Hall. The elders of the Devil Ancestor Hall were similar to the elders of the 100 Races Alliance. In the celestial realm, hundreds of races coexisted. As long as any race contributed to the celestial realm and had outstanding cultivators in their own race, they could join the Elder Council. The deserted world was different. In the deserted world, only the demon-winged clan was powerful. However, the demon-winged clan was also divided into bloodlines, branches, and different inheritances. Emo Yutian, Emo Gentian, Emo Tianji, and the others all came from different tribes. Because of their outstanding and powerful strength, they had the right to speak in the Demon Wing clan. However, the other large tribes also had outstanding cultivators. These outstanding cultivators were almost all the leaders of their respective tribes and branches. They were also members of the Elder Council of the Demon Ancestor Palace. Yi Shang took the team to change their route and rush to the original rendezvous point on Samsara Island. He also needed to discuss the situation and analysis with King Yawu. As for how to defend, he did not care. Only King Yawu, the city master of Heavenly Desolate City, and the great elders could discuss. Although they had changed their route, Night Sorrow and the others were still very fast. They arrived at the rendezvous point in half a month. The team led by Zhuodong and Lin Yun had been back for a while. They could not explore like Night Sorrow. They could only explore the hinterland of Samsara Island in a semicircle. Night Sorrow knew this because he had communicated with Long Jin's doppelganger. After returning to the camp, Night Sorrow and King Yawu discussed the current situation. In this critical period, the consequences of carelessness are unbearable. What you said is very likely, but all we can do is to defend. Because they opened the space-time tunnel, they don't know the specific landing point. King Yawu shook his head. Even King Yawu could not understand Night Sorrow's idea. It's too difficult to defend passively. Uncle, don't we have any plans to attack? Night Sorrow asked. Yes, but we have to wait. We are already in the 8th era of Samsara Island. There won't be small clashes so easily. If we are to fight, it will be a battle of life and death. The Heaven Desolation City Lord and Uncle are both trying to break through. If they can break through, it will be an opportunity for the decisive battle. King Yawu said. Night Sorrow nodded and didn't say anything else. Because the implications were too deep, he couldn't understand. Since King Yawu didn't say anything, he just asked. Don't touch your master's sword Dao for now. Even if you have the taboo attribute, it will be a burden for you. Break through to peak Emperor rank as soon as possible. This is the most important thing. It's best if you reach peak Emperor rank with destruction or nothingness. With the supreme attribute as the lead, your taboo attribute will be even stronger. King Yawu said to Night Sorrow. He still didn't recommend Night Sorrow to study Yan Wushuang's sword Dao now. Then senior brother can only wait. Wait until I study Master's book before I can communicate with him. Night Sorrow said. He will understand. Because once you read the sword manual, even if you don't want to learn or cultivate, some things will naturally be imprinted in your mind. It will affect what you are learning now. If it conflicts with your current cultivation path, it will be troublesome. King Yawu reminded Night Sorrow. Different cultivation paths meant different Dao. If there was a conflict between Dao, it would be fine if it could be resolved and merged. If it couldn't, the result would be a collapse of the Dao heart. The consequences would be severe. Soon after, King Yawu told Night Sorrow that there was no need to scout the surrounding regions of Samsara Island. Other than a few experts from the Devil Wing race, even emperors couldn't pass through the Nirvana Storm Seal and reach Samsara Island. If an expert came, he would be able to detect it. Night Sorrow also understood this. He took the map and marked out some regions. There was no need to scout the Broken Sky Mountain region as there was the Void Purple Light Snake. For latest chapter, Stanza LQPJP. The Void Purple Light Snake was a problem for the cultivators of the Celestial Realm. It was also a problem for the Devil Wing race. Relatively speaking, the key area Night Sorrow marked out was Demon Mountain. Demon Mountain was once the nest of the dragon-headed and snake-headed people. The dragon-headed and snake-headed people were taken away by the Devil Wing race. Therefore, if the Devil Wing race wanted to do something on Samsara Island, it was reasonable to choose Demon Mountain. After Night Sorrow marked out the regions, the scouting began again. When they were halfway around Demon Mountain, Night Sorrow waved his hand to stop the team. Then he stopped moving. Long Jin led the people to be on guard. There were only two possibilities for such a situation. Either Night Sorrow discovered the situation, or Night Sorrow's original body had a problem. At this time, Night Sorrow's original body had a problem. Because the nothingness attribute had increased a little, it triggered a riot of the nothingness attribute. This situation attracted a guy that was different from the ordinary Void Purple Light Snake. It was more than 4 feet long and had a golden line from the back of its head to its tail. Void Purple Light Snake King. Seeing this special guy, Night Sorrow knew what was going on. Chapter 2003. The Nothingness Purple Light Snake King was swimming within Night Sorrow's reincarnation domain. With the naked eye, it was filled with a domineering and gorgeous aura. Its body was filled with a sense of beauty. Of course, this beauty was only external. Only Night Sorrow knew how fierce it was. The reincarnation domain collapsed under the constant attacks of the Nothingness Purple Light Snake King, forming a small void vortex. The Nothingness Purple Light Snake King approached Night Sorrow while attacking and devouring energy. Night Sorrow was sure that the Nothingness Purple Light Snake King could devour his energy. During the collision, Night Sorrow's reincarnation domain's energy was broken down into destruction, space-time, and limitless energy. The nothingness purple light Snake King could devour it. Suppress. Yi Shang snorted softly. His power of merit exploded and strengthened his domain. With the power of virtue, the power of Night Sorrow's domain increased by a lot. Most importantly, the nothingness purple light Snake King could not devour the power of virtue. Naturally, it was suppressed. Waving the Samsara halberd, Night Sorrow attacked. When the Samsara halberd was very close to the nothingness purple light Snake King's head, a thought suddenly appeared in Night Sorrow's mind. This caused his Samsara halberd to deviate. Night Sorrow suddenly had the idea to subdue the nothingness purple light Snake King. The nothingness purple light snake was the overlord of this reincarnation island. If he could subdue the nothingness purple light Snake King, then the group of nothingness purple light snakes could become Night Sorrow's eyes. Withdrawing the Samsara halberd's attack, Night Sorrow's left hand, wrapped in energy, pressed towards the nothingness purple light Snake King. The nothingness purple light Snake King's rebound and impact force rushed towards Night Sorrow's left hand. Night Sorrow felt as if his left hand was pressing against an erupting volcano, an angry dragon. Using his left hand to suppress the nothingness purple light Snake King, Night Sorrow's right hand formed a fist. He used shockwave force to bombard the nothingness purple light Snake King's head. He wanted to knock the nothingness purple light Snake King unconscious. The punch that contained 30% of his power only managed to stop the void purple light snake struggle for an instant. The void purple light Snake King's defensive ability was very strong. 30% of Night Sorrow's energy didn't do much damage to it. Sensing the defensive power of the nothingness purple light Snake King, Night Sorrow kept unleashing punches. The power behind his punches kept increasing. When Night Sorrow's primary energy reached 80%, he managed to knock out the nothingness purple light Snake King with one punch. Night Sorrow and the nothingness purple light Snake King entered the inner space of the human Emperor's seal. Night Sorrow didn't dare to use any other magic treasure to trap the nothingness purple light Snake King. An ordinary nothingness purple light snake could easily break through spatial barriers and destroy defensive treasures, let alone the nothingness purple light Snake King. Not even the clear sky pagoda could withstand it. The moment the nothingness purple light Snake King woke up, it was suppressed by the power of virtue that Night Sorrow had unleashed using the human Emperor's seal. With the power of virtue bolstered by the human Emperor's seal, the nothingness purple light Snake King was completely suppressed. It was like a loach stuck in a quagmire. Next you have two options. You can either submit or be destroyed. Night Sorrow sent his message to the nothingness purple light Snake King. In response to Night Sorrow, the nothingness purple light Snake King unleashed a soul attack in response to Night Sorrow. In that case, let's see how long you can last. Right now, you don't even have the chance to die. After saying that, Night Sorrow brought out the human Emperor's seal. The human Emperor's seal floated above Night Sorrow's head. Night Sorrow activated the human Emperor's fire of virtue, and began attacking the nothingness purple light Snake King's spirit sea. Night Sorrow knew that if this continued, there would be two outcomes. One was to subdue the nothingness purple light Snake King, and the other was to refine and obliterate its soul. If he could subdue the nothingness purple light Snake King, then there was nothing more to say. If he could refine its soul, Night Sorrow could only send a strand of his soul power into the nothingness purple light Snake King's spirit sea, and try to control the nothingness purple light Snake King's spirit sea. However, the possibility was very low. Night Sorrow continued to comprehend the power of heaven and earth while burning the nothingness purple light Snake King with the fire of virtue. Night Sorrow's doppelganger, who was leading the First Legion and the God-slaying squad, opened his eyes. We can continue forward. Captain, what happened? Long Jean asked. We encountered the nothingness purple light Snake King and fought for a while. Night Sorrow said with a smile. He didn't go into the details. If he did, everyone would be disappointed if he couldn't subdue them. The team continued to investigate. Night Sorrow's doppelganger walked at the back. No one disturbed him because there was no need for Night Sorrow to fight. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. On this day, the Nirvana storm on Samsara Island became very intense. Due to the influence of natural factors, the Nirvana tide became stronger. Night Sorrow ordered the team to stop moving forward. He wasn't afraid, but if the team members were to be sucked in by the void vortex, they would be in big trouble. While the First Legion and the God-slaying squad were setting up camp, some people gathered in front of the sacrificial tower of the Devil Imperial City. It was a team led by Mo Yutian and Mo Zhantian. There were a few emperors in the team, and the rest were all monarchs. Half of them were from the Devil Winged race, while the other half were from the Dragon Head race and the Snake Head race. In front of this team, there were some Devil Winged race members with powerful auras. They were the elders of the Devil Ancestor Palace. If there's anything, we can communicate with our real bodies. I will go first and activate the sacrificial tower. Mo Yutian said to Mo Zhantian. Later, I will send some monarchs to the celestial realm to set up a teleportation array that connects to Samsara Island. We can communicate at any time. After Mo Zhantian finished speaking, he nodded to the elders of the Devil Ancestor Palace behind him. The price of continuously opening the space-time tunnel was huge. However, in order to conquer the celestial realm, the Devil Winged race had to bear the price no matter how big it was. Original version 9. End premiere. Following the activation of the elders of the Devil Ancestor Palace, a beam of light shot out from the sacrificial tower. The beam of light shot through the sky and turned into a space-time tunnel. Mo Yutian's doppelganger then led the team into it. Mo Yutian had asked the fortune teller to choose the time for the battle. When the Nirvana storm was at its strongest, it would be easier to open the space-time tunnel and they wouldn't be discovered. After exiting the space-time tunnel, Mo Yutian and his team appeared in the Devil Mountain region of Samsara Island. Everyone, be careful. Don't be discovered. We will set up the defensive array now. This isn't an easy task. Let's begin. Mo Yutian ordered the team behind him. In order to set up a teleportation array on Samsara Island, first of all, they couldn't let the Nirvana storm affect the operation of the teleportation array. In order to do so, they had to set up a large-scale defensive array to stabilize the surrounding space. The stalemate between Night Sorrow's real body and the Void Purple Light Snake King was still ongoing. However, the Void Purple Light Snake King wasn't as energetic as before. The human emperor's fire of virtue was irresistible. It kept burning its soul, causing it to be unable to withstand it. Chapter 2004. The Void Purple Light Snake King did not respond because it was meaningless. Noticing the Snake King's state and attitude, Night Sorrow suddenly increased the impact of the Emperor's fire. While the Snake King was still in a daze, Night Sorrow's soul power rushed into the space of the Void Purple Light Snake King's Spirit Sea. Inside the Void Purple Light Snake King's Divine Sea was a divine infant. It was a figure that looked just like the original Void Purple Light Snake, but it was much smaller. Night Sorrow's soul power was wrapped around this divine infant. The outcome has been decided. You can kill me. As the Deluxe Merit Emperor, why do you have to make things difficult for me? The Void Purple Light Snake King's voice sounded in Night Sorrow's Spirit Sea. I'm sorry. I have no choice but to do this because I need your help. Let's talk. Night Sorrow said and withdrew the Emperor's fire of virtue. Then he calmly talked about the situation in the Celestial Realm and the deserted world, as well as the crisis in the Celestial Realm on the Samsara Island. The deserted world, the Celestial Realm. Are we also in the Celestial Realm? The Void Purple Light Snake King's Spirit Sea appeared in Night Sorrow's Spirit Sea. Yes, the war is about to begin. Let's not talk about whether I'm the Deluxe Merit Emperor. I'm from the Celestial Realm. Naturally, I have to think about the races in the Celestial Realm. If this is a sin, I have to do it. I hope you don't blame me. Night Sorrow shook his head helplessly. You want the Void Purple Light Snakes to be your eyes. That's fine. But when will you let me go? The Void Purple Light Snake King asked. I don't know. But at least after the Samsara Island incident, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a while. Okay. But there are some things that we need to discuss. If you force me, I won't agree. The Void Purple Light Snake King walked around the Emperor's space and said. Okay. Night Sorrow nodded. Even if it was just a discussion, it was still a big gain for him. With a vibration of his soul, Night Sorrow pulled the Void Purple Light Snake out of the space of the Emperor's seal. Night Sorrow was not afraid that the Void Purple Light Snake would go back on its word. The Void Purple Light Snake's nascent soul was entwined with his soul power. As long as he used his soul power, the Void Purple Light Snake would not be able to fight back. After leaving the human Emperor space, the Purple Light Snake King circled around Night Sorrow's body. Then, a purple-gold halo appeared on its head, rippling in all directions. The order has been given. The void purple light snakes will not stay in one place. They have already spread out and are patrolling the entire Samsara island. If there are any outsiders, they will be discovered soon. The void purple light snake king's soul fluctuations reached Night Sorrow's divine sea. Thank you. Night Sorrow nodded at the void purple light snake king. He was really happy. I am willing to do this mainly because we, the void purple light snakes, are also creatures of the celestial realm. This war is also related to us. Also, there is something else that I have helped you with. You have to help me too. Release that special domain and let me feel it. The void purple light snake king said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow thought for a while and released the power of merit. It's not that. The power of merit is not an elemental power, and it can't be comprehended. It's the original kind. The void purple light snake king's soul rippled with a trace of emotion and urgency. Night Sorrow understood what the void purple light snake king was talking about. It was talking about the forbidden Samsara domain. After understanding, Night Sorrow released it. Then the void purple light snake king wandered in Night Sorrow's Samsara domain. Sometimes it even swallowed it. However, this had no effect on Night Sorrow. He continued to meditate and comprehend the general trend of heaven and earth. Long Jin tells Wudong and Lin Yun to return with their teams. We will go back now. Night Sorrow ordered. Captain, don't you want to investigate anymore? Long Jin asked. Let's not investigate anymore. We already have spies. Night Sorrow smiled. He knew that the scouting efficiency of the two teams was incomparable to that of the void purple light snakes. What was the speed of the void purple light snakes? How many were they? In the past, they gathered in special areas. Once they spread out, they could cover most of the Samsara island. Didn't you say that the arrangement of the stone trees would take some time? Can it be done now? Besides, there are not enough stone trees. Flower Without Words said. P-Start, what if the void purple light snakes are helping us to keep an eye on the Samsara island? Won't they be more efficient than us in investigating? We can just go and investigate wherever the situation is not right. Night Sorrow said. Brother 13, what's going on? Tianyu looked at Night Sorrow in surprise. Not only Tianyu, but the soldiers of the First Army and the members of the God-slaying team were also looking at Night Sorrow in shock. 2 months ago, I met the void purple light snake king. You all know that. I fought with it for 2 months. It was willing to help me as a scout on the Samsara island. Night Sorrow said with a smile. That's amazing. So you subdued the void purple light snake king? White Meng Meng, who was also in the same team as Night Sorrow, looked at Night Sorrow as if he was a monster. Not really. We can communicate. It's willing to help us because it's also a being of the celestial realm. Alright, let's go back. Night Sorrow ordered. Night Sorrow only mentioned one reason. In fact, there was another reason. The void purple light snake king was interested in Night Sorrow's reincarnation energy. The team turned around quickly. When they arrived at the rendezvous point, Night Sorrow told King Yawu about it. Very good. This is great news. When the Grand Elder sends Shuchuan here, the Winged Demon Clan will not be able to sneak up on the Samsara Island. For the next period of time, the team just needs to keep an eye on the areas that the void purple light snakes are investigating. King Yawu was very happy to hear this news. With the help of the void purple light snakes, this place was Night Sorrow's home ground. It was also the home ground of the celestial realm. There are people. The void purple light snakes have discovered other people. I will take people to investigate. Night Sorrow's expression changed. The void purple light snake king received the report of the void purple light snakes that had spread out. Look at the situation. If there's a crisis, inform Uncle. King Yawu was very shocked when he heard Night Sorrow's words. The Winged Demon Clan had already arrived on the island. If the void purple light snakes hadn't discovered them, the celestial realm might not have reacted. Night Sorrow's original body communicated with the void purple light snake king. The void purple light snake king left the spatial whirlpool area and went to Night Sorrow's doppelganger. With a void jump, it entered Night Sorrow's doppelganger's divine sea. Night Sorrow didn't resist because the void purple light snake king's soul power wrapped around the divine infant couldn't hurt him. In addition, he didn't feel any hostility. Bowing to King Yawu, Night Sorrow led the team out. As for the direction and target, it was the Void Purple Light Snake King who guided them. Senior King Yawu didn't sense anything, so the people who appeared shouldn't be very strong. We might be able to kill them. Long Jin's fighting spirit was very strong. Chapter 2005. See Unspecified Currency. War is actually a process of a battle of wits and courage. Lord King Yawu came here to prevent the powerful experts of the Demon Wing clan from landing on the island. If there is an opportunity to sense the existence of the existence, they will be able to detect the experts of the other side. As for how the Demon Wing clan will solve this problem, the worst way is to send practitioners who won't trigger the opportunity detection. The best way is to send some masters here without triggering the opportunity detection, Night Sorrow said. Captain, do you mean that the Demon Wing clan may send some powerful masters here? Liang Yu asked with a serious look. According to Night Sorrow, the team was in danger. It's not impossible. The Demon Wing clan has a long history. Before the Celestial Realm appeared, the deserted world was the supreme world and had developed for countless years. We have to admit that the Devil Wing clan is strong. They might have some special techniques and magical treasures. Therefore, it is not a mistake to think more about the battle with the Devil Wing clan and think about the situation more complicated. Yi Shan nodded. It's better to be safe than sorry. You're right. We don't know how long the Celestial Realm and the Demon Wing clan have been fighting for, but the modeled city wall of the Heavenly Desolate City is proof. The sages of the human race and the Celestial Realm have been guarding the Celestial Realm for a long time. We must work hard to prevent the Celestial Realm from becoming a problem in our era. Otherwise, we'll be sorry to the sages and future generations, Zhuodong said. The members of the god-slaying team called Night Sorrow captain, while the sergeants of the first troop called him commander. Just do your best. Even if the demon-winged clan managed to sneak in, it would be very difficult for them to do anything in a short period of time. In the storm of Samsara Island, without the support of a defensive formation, the teleportation formation can't be used even after it's set up, said Yi Shan. He was an Imperial Lord-level array master, so he knew some details. While Night Sorrow was talking, a dark energy appeared on his body. The energy uncontrollably rushed in all directions and a strong destructive heaven and earth momentum appeared on his body. This kind of impact made the people around Night Sorrow unable to resist and retreat. After half a cup of tea's time, Night Sorrow's aura stabilized. A breakthrough. Sikong Chuyu returned to Night Sorrow's side. Yes, it came at the right time. When I was comprehending the nihility and infinity attributes, the destruction attribute leveled up. This will greatly increase my combat power. Night Sorrow nodded. At this moment, he was very happy. In this chaotic world, strength was the guarantee of everything. Only with strength could one have confidence. 13th brother. You slept for 700 years, and everyone worked hard, but in the end? You've been sleeping for 700 years, and your cultivation has continued to increase. Now that you've broken through again, how are we supposed to catch up to you? Tianyu looked at Night Sorrow and said. However, the expression on his face was not conflicted at all. This was because he was happy for Night Sorrow. Brothers, it's not that I don't want to wait for everyone. However, the timing is not right now. I'm working hard to cultivate not to show how capable I am, but to let everyone have a better and more stable life. I, Night Sorrow, am willing to be everyone's guardian. Night Sorrow turned around and looked at the soldiers of the First Army and the members of the God-slaying squad. 13th brother, don't listen to Tianyu's nonsense. Tianyu, what's wrong with you? Don't you know who you are after getting married and having a wife? 13th brother is the glory in our hearts. 13th brother's achievements to us are as glorious as our own achievements. Yi Mei glared at Tianyu and said, Haha, I understand. Tianyu, you have a lot of stock in your storage ring. Help me distribute some wine to everyone to celebrate, Night Sorrow said as he patted Yi Mei's shoulder. Yi Mei had returned to the god-slaying squad for a while. During the 700 years when Night Sorrow was asleep, she had worked hard to cultivate and her cultivation level had improved. In the god-slaying squad, she was second only to Long Jin and Tianyu. She was also at the peak of the Emperor realm. Zhuodong then asked Night Sorrow what kind of cultivators of the Demon Wing clan could pose a threat to Night Sorrow. Hearing Zhuodong's words, The soldiers of the First Army and the God-slaying squad waited for Night Sorrow's answer seriously. To put it bluntly, cultivators of the Emperor Tribulation stage can't pose a threat to me. Even cultivators of the lower Emperor Tribulation stage can't kill me easily, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Night Sorrow knew the difference between cultivators of the Emperor Tribulation and the Emperor Tribulation. Cultivators of the Emperor Tribulation were still at the stage of comprehending the general trend of the heavenly way. Their combat strength depended on their fighting talent, attributes and other factors. However, cultivators of the Emperor Tribulation were different. Their comprehension of the general trend of the heavenly way had reached perfection, or at least one attribute of the general trend of the heavenly way had reached perfection. Every tribulation of the Emperor Tribulation could enhance one's soul. This was the fundamental reason why Yan Wushuang and Mo Tianji's souls could not be easily destroyed during the tribulation of the Seven Emperors. With the help of powerful soul power, genuine Qi and domain realm cultivators were much more powerful than cultivators of the same genuine Qi and domain realm. Awesome! Mo Chen, Guan Yi and the others gave Night Sorrow a thumbs up. They were Night Sorrow's senior brothers, but they admired Night Sorrow from the bottom of their hearts. Night Sorrow made them feel proud. This was because Night Sorrow's character and strength was the benchmark for all cultivators in the 9 regions world, primal chaos realm, and even the celestial realm. Alright, let's go. Night Sorrow led the group and continued forward under the guidance of the Void Purple Light Snake King. The Void Purple Light Snake King was not a reliable beast. Sometimes, it would float out of Night Sorrow's divine sea and travel through the air. After a few breaths of time, it would come back and tell Night Sorrow that it had killed a dragon-headed being and a snake-headed being. Night Sorrow had a better understanding of the Void Purple Light Snake King's strength. It was completely different from what he thought it was at the peak of the Emperor rank. The Void Purple Light Snake King had not only comprehended the general trend of the void heaven and earth to perfection, it had also experienced 2 lightning tribulations, which was equivalent to 2 Emperor tribulations. As for why it lost to Night Sorrow, it was completely because Night Sorrow's reincarnation domain was able to suppress it with the power of virtue. He also had the human Emperor's space that could trap it. Under these circumstances, it had no choice but to lose and had no complaints. In terms of speed, Tianyu was not as fast as the Void Purple Light Snake King. In terms of strength, Long Jin was on par with the Void Purple Light Snake. In terms of battle strength, Tianyu and Long Jin were incomparable because of the difference in realm. In terms of talent, the Void Purple Light Snake was not inferior to any divine beast. It was blessed by nature. The Void Purple Light Snake King often bullied the group of people behind Night Sorrow. With a swing of its tail, it could send people tumbling. No one could do anything about this situation. The Void Purple Light Snake was fast and could travel through the void. Everyone could only endure it and have a good attitude. If they did not have a good attitude, it would come back to them. Flower Without Words, who had a bad mouth, suffered a lot. As they advanced, the Void Purple Light Snake that was resting in Night Sorrow's divine sea told Night Sorrow that it had found the target, but the target was moving. In reality, Mo Yuqian's soul power was powerful and had indeed found Night Sorrow's group first. Chapter 2006. Mo Yuqian did not want to fight because fighting would expose their whereabouts and make it difficult for them to achieve their goal. With such thoughts in mind, Mo Yuqian naturally avoided fighting and left quickly. Mo Yuqian, who had suppressed his cultivation to below the sovereign tribulation, was extremely fast. Realm was more important than cultivation. The higher one's realm was, the deeper one's understanding of heaven and earth, and the deeper one's understanding of heaven and earth's laws. Hence, one could ignore the suppression of some laws and fly faster. The Void Purple Light Snake King led Night Sorrow and the rest to chase after them. However, moments later, Mo Yuqian and the rest disappeared from the Void Purple Light Snake's detection. You guys are so slow. If I were to chase after them myself, they wouldn't have been able to escape. The Void Purple Light Snake King grumbled in Night Sorrow's spirit sea. Night Sorrow chose to ignore the Void Purple Light Snake King's grumbling. He did not say anything. On this storm-filled Samsara Island, the Void Purple Light Snake King's speed was indeed much faster than his. Not to mention, there was still a group of god-slaying team members with lower cultivation behind them. They could not keep up with the Void Purple Light Snake King's speed. After losing the target, Night Sorrow led the team to stop moving forward and let the Void Purple Light Snake King lead the Void Purple Light Snake King to investigate in the direction where the target disappeared. Captain, what's going on? Long Jean asked. The other party is fast. They should have an expert in the team. However, it doesn't matter. The Void Purple Light Snake can continue to investigate. They won't be able to gain a foothold here, Night Sorrow said. Although they had lost the target, Night Sorrow was not discouraged. At this moment, Mo Yutian was very annoyed. He had just finished exploring the terrain with his men, and was about to set up a formation when he discovered Night Sorrow and the rest approaching. In order to avoid being exposed and to carry out his purpose of setting up the teleportation formation secretly, he could only leave with his men and continue to hide their tracks. Grand Elder, is that place not safe? Mo Lu asked. Mo Yutian looked at Mo Lu. Just now, there was a group of people approaching us. If we don't leave, they will definitely rush to our stronghold. It will be unavoidable for us to encounter them and clash. Mo Lu understood why Mo Yutian had waved his sleeve before leaving and destroyed the formation bases that he had set up. That was to destroy all traces. The Demon Wings clan placed great importance on this mission. There were 3 key figures in Mo Yutian's group: the Demon Wings clan's Grand Elder Mo Lu, the head of the dragon-headed tribesman Xiang Long, and the head of the snake-headed tribesman Shi Yuan. Night Sorrow led his men to set up camp while waiting for news from the Void Purple Light Snake. The Void Purple Light Snake King was very good at causing trouble, causing the camping team to be in a complete mess. For example, when Flower Without Words took out a jar of wine and opened it, the Void Purple Light Snake King dived in before he could drink. Flower Without Words held the jar and tilted his head back, but not a single drop of wine came out. The Void Purple Light Snake King had already finished the wine. H2 update under Soonest on. Tiger Cold had finished roasting the meat, but before he could eat it, the Void Purple Light Snake King pounced on him, leaving only a bare bone. Cursing was useless, and they couldn't beat it. The Void Purple Light Snake King became the little tyrant of this team. However, there were exceptions. In addition to being close to Night Sorrow, the Void Purple Light Snake King also had a good relationship with Night Sorrow's wives in the team. Little Purple, don't make trouble. There's wine here. Sikong Chuyu opened a jar of wine and shouted at the Void Purple Light Snake King, who was staring at Tiger Cold. The Void Purple Light Snake King sent a space oscillation wave at Tiger Cold, forcing Tiger Cold to step back. The Void Purple Light Snake King flashed to the wine jar in front of Sikong Chuyu and drank half of the jar. Then it traveled through the void again and took away the roasted meat in front of Zhuodong. This time, it didn't eat it, but sent it to Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi. I don't know how to describe my feelings at this moment, Zhuodong exhaled and said. Who can you blame? Little Purple is psychic. It will be nice to whoever is nice to it. Am I right, Little Purple? Yang Lei waved at the Void Purple Light Snake King, who was floating in the air. The Void Purple Light Snake King wriggled its body and nodded like a human. You should adapt to the situation. If you can't afford to offend or hide from it, just accept your fate and offer it to us. Don't worry about it. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Long Jean, you are the prince of the Golden Dragon clan. Aren't you born to suppress dragons and snakes? Why did Little Purple bully you a few days ago? Zhuodong looked at Long Jean and asked. Long Jean glanced at Zhuodong with disdain. Little Purple is a void creature called Purple Light Snake, which is different from dragons and snakes. Now the whole team called the Void Purple Light Snake King Little Purple Light Snake King Little Purple. But only Night Sorrow and Sikong Chuyu could agree. After camping for a day, Little Z received the news from her subordinates and found the whereabouts of Mo Yutian and the others. Little Purple told Night Sorrow the details. There were about 60 people in Mo Yutian's team. Little Purple didn't know the situation of the Demon Wing clan, but it knew dragon-headed and snake-headed people. Night Sorrow looked at the team and said, the Demon Wing clan's team is very strong. There are many emperors, dragon-headed and snake-headed people. Among them, there are 3 whose strength the Void Purple Light Snake couldn't detect. One is from the Demon Wing clan, and the other 2 are dragon-headed and snake-headed people. After sharing the information with the team, Night Sorrow fell into deep thought. He had to think about the next situation. There were many emperors in the Demon Wing clan's team. It would be difficult for his team to defeat the Demon Wing clan's team. After all, there were only a few emperors in the God-slaying team. It was almost impossible for them to defeat the Demon Wing clan's team without any casualties. Captain, if you can detect emperors, Why can't you detect their strength? Longjin asked, puzzled. It means that they are cultivators above the Emperor Tribulation. The dragon-headed and snake-headed people in their team should be the ones that were taken away by the Demon Wing clan. They are the elites of the dragon-headed and snake-headed people. Knight Sorrow said. Commander, we will kill them the way you want us to, Bai Lingling said. Retreating is impossible. Asking for help is also a bit embarrassing. After all, this team didn't arouse the senses of my Marshal King Ya. Let's go and test their strength. However, everyone must remember one thing. Do not block my soul power. This way, I will lead everyone to retreat. It will be safer. Knight Sorrow spoke his thoughts. Naturally, no one objected to Knight Sorrow's thoughts. The group rushed towards the area where the void purple light snake had reported. In order to not be discovered by the other party, Knight Sorrow personally acted as the scout. At this moment, Mo Yutian and his team were surveying the terrain and setting up a suitable defensive array according to the terrain. This way, they could suppress the space and allow the teleportation array to teleport normally. The dragon-headed and snake-headed people didn't have any cultivation in Array Dao. They could only scout the surrounding area. Mo Yutian was in charge of keeping watch. Mo Lu led his team to repair the terrain and prepare the array foundation for the defensive array. After taking a look at the surrounding situation, Mo Yutian frowned. He had detected the arrival of Knight Sorrow and his team. Chapter 2007. Grand Elder, have we been discovered? Mo Lu's face was full of surprise. They are moving in this direction again. I don't know how they set their route. Let's move to another place. Mo Yutian ordered. Mo Lu didn't ask any more questions. Mo Yutian's decision was unquestionable. He was giving an order, not asking for advice. Mo Yutian put his team into the space treasure and flew away. At this time, Little Purple told Knight Sorrow about the situation of the Demon Wing Clan's team. The void purple light snakes under its command had a special method of communication. One by one, they passed the information to him. Knight Sorrow was a little puzzled. According to Little Purple's report, the other party had started to move when they were still more than 200,000 miles away. This didn't make sense because his detection range was more than 100,000 miles. The other party's detection range was too wide. Unable to figure it out, Knight Sorrow told the team to stop and then explained the situation to everyone. Knight Sorrow felt that since he couldn't figure it out himself, they should think about it together. Maybe they could figure it out. Knight Sorrow, the other party moved in advance twice. This means that they might have some method to detect our approach, just like how we can detect their location, Sikong Chuyu said. We were able to find them because Little Purple led the group of void purple light snakes to help us. How did they find us? Lin Yun said something she didn't understand. We don't know what special detection method they have. Little Purple asked the void purple light snakes to continue to search in the direction where they disappeared. Let's not give them time to stabilize. Chuyu, tell Sister Xian about our situation and communicate with the Grand Elder or Uncle Master. Let's see if they have any different opinions. After thinking for a while, Knight Sorrow made a decision. They had to stabilize the current situation first and then find a solution to the root of the problem. Zhua Dong, Lin Yun, and the others nodded. Although there was a direct solution, they couldn't choose to do so. Knight Sorrow didn't choose to do so, and they didn't suggest it either. They notified King Yawu and asked him to come and kill him. Since King Yawu did not sense it, it meant that the Demon Wings clan was not as strong as King Yawu. The strong had their dignity and pride, so they disdained to attack low-level cultivators. This kind of unspoken rule was also based on the training of the human race and the descendants of the Heaven Realm's 100 clans. If all the problems were solved by the seniors, the juniors would lose the pressure and the ability to resist difficulties. Knight Sorrow led his men to set up camp while waiting for news from the Void Purple Light Snake and the Grand Elder's conclusion. Mo Yutian led the Demon-Winged clan, the Dragon-Headed clan, and the Snake-Headed clan forward. After traveling a long distance, he chose to stop and continue surveying the terrain. Mo Yutian, who was in charge of scouting and alerting, was also thinking. If the Demon Wings clan wanted to do something in the Celestial Realm, they had to establish a stronghold on Reincarnation Island. However, there was a group tailing them, preventing them from proceeding smoothly. One day later, Knight Sorrow received the news. Not only did Little Purple receive the news, Sikong Chuyu also received the news from the Grand Elder that Lin Piaomiao brought. The current situation meant that the other party's scouting ability was stronger than Knight Sorrow's group. Normally, a peak Emperor's scouting range was 200,000 miles, while an Emperor's Tribulations range was 300,000 miles. However, in the harsh environment of Reincarnation Island, the scouting range would be halved. Knight Sorrow's soul power was 1/3 of a normal cultivator's. After scouting 100,000 miles on Reincarnation Island, it was normal for him to reach 120,000 miles. However, the other party was able to discover Knight Sorrow from 200,000 miles away. This meant that they were an Emperor's Tribulation cultivator. Emperor's Tribulation's scouting range was halved on Reincarnation Island, and could only reach 150,000 miles. This situation meant that the Demon Wings Clan's group either had a special method to discover Knight Sorrow, or there was an Emperor's Tribulation cultivator hiding their cultivation level. They used a secret technique to hide their cultivation level, but their soul power scouting ability was still present. Although he knew there was danger, Knight Sorrow didn't think the other party would easily make a move. Otherwise, they wouldn't have avoided them twice. Rest for 2 days and then continue forward. Knight Sorrow made his decision. As an Array Dao expert, Knight Sorrow knew that it was impossible to set up a formation that could affect an entire region in a short period of time. Therefore, he wasn't in a hurry. Knight Sorrow wasn't in a hurry. He had to think carefully. The more critical the situation was, the calmer he had to be. The team was still reorganizing. Knight Sorrow stood at the edge of the camp and pondered. He felt that there were 2 possibilities for the other party to discover them in advance. One was that the former dragon-headed and snake-headed people might have some tricks up their sleeves. The other was that the Grand Elder and the others had deduced that there was an expert with powerful soul power hidden in the Demon Wings Clan's group. This situation was very dangerous. Knight Sorrow was pondering. The team camped quietly. No one disturbed them. Even the Void Purple Light Snake King was very quiet. It also knew how to control the fire. In the Desolate City, the Desolate City's City Lord, the Grand Elder, and King Yawu were sitting together in the Desolate Tower. Knight Sorrow has the help of the Void Purple Light Snake. It's not easy for the Demon Wings Clan's group to set up a formation in peace. However, we don't know the situation of the Demon Wings Clan's group at present. This is a bit passive. The Grand Elder said. Look at the official version, Zhang O. Part 1. Yawu, we can't stick to the rules. We can't afford to lose to Knight Sorrow. If the other party finds out that Knight Sorrow is important to the 100 races of the Celestial Realm, they'll throw away their principles and personality and attack Knight Sorrow at all costs, the City Lord said. Yes, this is related to the overall situation and the direction of the war. If the other party attacks by hook or by crook, we'll be at a disadvantage. It'll be irreversible, the Grand Elder said. Then I'll meet up with Knight Sorrow and the others. If there's no Emperor's Tribulation cultivator, let them deal with it themselves. They also need to sharpen themselves. If the other party has experts, we'll kill them. King Yawu nodded. After thinking for a while at the edge of the camp, Knight Sorrow looked at King Yawu's crystal ball in his hand and made a decision. He would continue to investigate but not attack directly. He would find a way to approach the other party silently and find out the other party's background. Having made his decision, Knight Sorrow waved at the Purple Snake King and said, "Little Purple, come here." Seeing Knight Sorrow summon, the Purple Snake King shuttled to Knight Sorrow's side. Here's the thing. The first 2 times we approached the other party, we were discovered before we even got close. This time, I plan to approach through the spatial turbulence. Can you take a spatial treasure and go through the spatial turbulence? Knight Sorrow asked. If Little Purple wasn't by his side, Knight Sorrow would naturally enter the spatial turbulence himself. Now that Little Purple was by his side, and Little Purple had a special talent that allowed it to travel through space better than him, he naturally had to ask. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Little Purple nodded. It understood what Knight Sorrow meant. Besides, it wouldn't be difficult for it to bring a spatial treasure. Chapter 2008. After gathering the team, Knight Sorrow explained his plan and asked for everyone's opinion. In the team, orders were obeyed, but that was only after the decision was made. Now, Knight Sorrow still wanted to ask for everyone's opinion. He didn't want to act on his own. After all, Everyone had the right to control their own destiny. However, the result of Knight Sorrow's inquiry was no different from not asking. Even if he said that there might be a powerful warrior in the Demon Wing clan and that the team might be in danger, everyone still supported Knight Sorrow's decision. Thank you for your trust. I feel no pressure fighting side by side with you. You are my solid backing. You will never say anything that will hinder me, said Knight Sorrow with a smile. Captain, you are a qualified commander. You have led everyone back from many battles without any injuries. Every time, you have arranged everything perfectly. We feel at ease fighting with you. So what if there is danger? So what if we die in battle? I have no regrets to fight with you for the rest of my life, said Ho Jian. Yes, we are brothers. Brothers fight side by side. Even if we die in battle, we will have no regrets. Yun Huang also stood out. Then, the sound of the god-slaying team knocking on their breastplates was heard. If the little guys are fine, then the sergeants of the First Army will have no problem, said Flower without words. The god-slaying team didn't refute Flower without words. The sergeants of the First Army had the right to say so. The members of the god-slaying team were indeed young. In the eyes of the sergeants of the First Army, they were indeed little guys and dolls. In addition, the sergeants of the First Army also took good care of the members of the god-slaying team. When they were camping, they would share some knowledge about the celestial realm with the god-slaying team. Knight Sorrow, I have nothing to say. I am happy to have you as my brothers. Let's go. Knight Sorrow's soul power swept over everyone. Then, with a vibration, everyone was sucked into the 8-dragon cauldron. Then, he also entered the 8-dragon cauldron and let Little Purple take the cauldron. Little Purple circled around and wrapped the 8-dragon cauldron in her body. Then, she tore the space apart and entered the space turbulence. This speed, this shuttling ability is indeed powerful. Tianyu and the others were indeed shocked, because this was Little Purple's true speed. Knight Sorrow knew that Little Violet was strong, but he was still surprised that Little Violet could use her full speed, because she was much stronger than him. Knight Sorrow told Little Purple that the 8-dragon tripod was placed beside it, and it just needed to listen to his orders. He had this idea because when Knight Sorrow felt that there was danger, Little Purple took the space magic treasure and evacuated faster than him. In the turbulence of the void, Little Purple's speed was extremely fast. She was rapidly approaching Mo Yutian and the others. Knight Sorrow took out a towel and wiped the blood Kirin evil punishing spear. He was preparing for the upcoming battle. If he could catch his opponent's shadow, then killing his opponent was natural. The sergeants of the First Army and the God-slaying squad did the same. They were all ready for battle. It didn't take long for them to reach the area that Little Purple could scout. Little Purple reported the situation to Yi Shan. In terms of numbers, Knight Sorrow's men had an absolute advantage. However, in terms of individual combat strength, they were at a disadvantage because the Devil-Winged race had more emperors. When they were close to 30,000 miles away, Knight Sorrow could scout by himself. Because his soul power had to penetrate the spatial barrier to scout, the scouting distance was greatly shortened. 30,000 miles was already the limit. After personally discovering the opponent's situation, Knight Sorrow made battle arrangements. Lin Yun, Yuan Zhuodong will lead the strongest team to deal with the snakehead man with blood-red pupils. Long Jin, Yuan Tianyu will lead a team to deal with the golden-haired dragon-headed man. Lin Yun, Zhuodong, Long Jin, and Tianyu all nodded. They knew that Knight Sorrow's arrangement was the most reasonable. Long Jin was the prince of the golden dragon race and could suppress any demonic beast or divine beast cultivator with the bloodline of dragons. Although Lin Yun's bloodline could also suppress ordinary divine beasts, it was not as effective as Long Jin's suppression of the dragon-headed man. Tiger Cold, Flower without words. Although you two joined the First Army later, your combat strength is recognized by everyone. Tiger Cold is even at the Emperor rank. You two will lead a team to deal with the other purple-robed Devil-Winged race member. Knight Sorrow also arranged Mo Lu's opponents. Currently, the strongest in the Devil-Winged race team was Mo Yutian. Knight Sorrow and Little Purple both discovered that he was the leader of the team. Following him were the dragon-headed man leader Xiang Long and the snakehead man leader Sua Yuan, followed by the other emperors. Normal emperors, even middle-class emperors, weren't much of a threat to Yi Shang's troops. This was because the first commander's peak emperors had great teamwork and were able to restrain emperors. Little Purple, look after everyone. If there is any danger, Help them. You may hate me, but they are the future of the celestial realm. Night Sorrow stood inside the 8-dragon cauldron and said to Little Purple. What responded to Night Sorrow was an affirmative soul ripple. Soon after, Night Sorrow waved his left hand forward and had Little Purple quickly approach. Mo Yuqian was patrolling inside and outside the team's camp. At the same time, he was pondering over this operation. He knew he had to be careful because he knew King Yawu was on Reincarnation Island. Mo Yuqian had the Devil Race's ancestral artifact Wheel of Life and Death to conceal his aura. King Yawu couldn't detect him, but Mo Yuqian had already sensed King Yawu's aura. This made Mo Yuqian hesitate and didn't dare to make any big moves. King Yawu was a giant of the Celestial Realm's 100 races and one of the 2 city lords of the Celestial Realm. Mo Yuqian didn't want to provoke him. He knew that it was very difficult to defeat King Yawu. Back then, he had tested Peerless Sword Emperor Yan Wushuang's strength. He was inferior to Yan Wushuang, not to mention that King Yawu was Yan Wushuang's senior brother and the first city lord of Desolate City. His reputation was above Yan Wushuang's. Everyone, hurry up and set up the defensive formation. I will set up a concealment formation to confuse the heavenly secrets and completely hide this place. Mo Yuqian shouted to his subordinates. After roaring, Mo Yuqian turned around and looked at the void on the left side of the station. His eyes flashed with a cold light because he felt the fluctuation of the void energy. It was mainly because Little Purple was flying with the 8-dragon cauldron, so her compatibility with the void of heaven and earth had decreased, which was why Mo Yuqian had discovered it in advance. #K. Positive. First 5 shots of X, you want to die? Even if I don't activate my cultivation, it's enough to kill all of you. After detecting Little Purple and discovering the space magic treasure on her, Mo Yuqian understood everything. He understood why he had been discovered twice. Little Purple had a space magic treasure on her, which meant that she was related to the Heaven Realm's 100 clans. Little Purple went out of the space. Night Sorrow's soul power vibrated and rolled everyone out of the 8-dragon cauldron. Chapter 2009. I didn't want to bother with you, but since you want to die, you can't blame anyone. Yuqian Mo looked at Night Sorrow and a halberd appeared in his hand. It was very similar to the reincarnation halberd that Night Sorrow's main body held. The Desolate Halberd was the Demon Wing clan's most precious divine weapon. Yuqian Mo had seen it in the hands of the demon ancestor before, so he made one according to its size and style. It was called the Great Desolate Halberd. Holding the Great Desolate Halberd, Yuqian Mo swung it at Night Sorrow. With a muffled sound, Night Sorrow was sent flying. The violent energy impact made Night Sorrow spit out a mouthful of blood. Night Sorrow was at a disadvantage in this exchange. Yuqian Mo had used the strength of one of the 9 Emperors' Tribulation of the Heavenly Tao. Coupled with his powerful soul power, Night Sorrow was unable to withstand it. Night Sorrow had not vomited blood for a long time. The main reason was that the gap between him and Yuqian Mo was too big. In terms of realm and energy, Yuqian Mo was able to crush him. The team led by Lin Yun and Zhuodong was also not good. They were suppressed by the snake-headed leader. How long could they last was a problem. Captain, this guy is too strong. Long Jin also shouted. Night Sorrow knew that there was a serious error in his estimation. The team led by him had no chance of defeating the Demon Wing clan. This was the consequence of underestimating Yuqian Mo. When everyone appeared, they were in Yuqian Mo's domain. In other words, Yuqian Mo's domain had concealed the aura of the experts in this team. Even if there were dragon-headed and snake-headed people in the Demon Wing clan, King Yawu could not sense them. Night Sorrow's reincarnation domain burst forth and forcefully counteracted the suppression of Yuqian Mo's domain. Then, his soul power burst out and wrapped the first team soldiers and members of the god-slaying team, pulling them into the 8-dragon cauldron. Retreat! Feeling that it was impossible, Night Sorrow decided not to fight. If he continued to fight, he would die. Want to run? If you don't know when to stop, then don't even think about leaving. Yuqian Mo roared. His left hand punched towards Night Sorrow while the great desolate war halberd in his right hand smashed towards Little Purple. He knew that Night Sorrow wanted to take the troops into the spatial treasure on Little Purple's back. The reason why Mo Yuqian used his weapon to attack Little Purple was because he thought highly of Little Purple. Little Purple was a 2 Emperor calamity while Night Sorrow was at the Emperor realm. There was a huge gap between the two. Even though he had paid attention to Little Purple, Mo Yutian's halberd still missed because Little Purple's speed was too fast. After dodging Imperial Mo's attack, Little Purple's body trembled as she continued to charge forward, breaking through Imperial Mo's domain's seal on the space. Together with Knight Sorrow's soul power, she pulled the soldiers of the First Army and the members of the God-slaying squad into the Eight-Dragon Cauldron. Look at the YM. Verse MQ above equals Q Little Purple, retreat. Knight Sorrow shouted at the Purple Void Snake King. Little Purple carried out Knight Sorrow's orders without hesitation. She flashed into the turbulence of the void. They ran away. It doesn't matter if they ran away. They are just a bunch of trash. Today I will kill you and that will be enough. Yutian Mo was no longer distracted as he focused all his attention on Knight Sorrow. His domain began to suppress the surrounding space. In other words, it wouldn't be easy for Knight Sorrow and Little Purple to come into contact with each other. Knight Sorrow knew that the gap between him and Yutian Mo was huge. He immediately used the Void Step to dodge. He wanted to find a chance to escape. If he didn't, this clone of his might die. Hiding the head but showing the tail. You're not a big shot. Knight Sorrow constantly flashed as he dodged Yutian Mo's attacks. Shut up. I, Yutian of the Devil Wing clan, am not someone a piece of trash like you can slander. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Mo Lu was very angry. Knight Sorrow's heart skipped a beat. He knew that he had bumped into a big shot. He knew the names of the three great heavens of the Devil Wing clan. Yutian Mo, Mo Zhantian, and Mo Tianji had the same status in the Devil Wing clan as the Tianhuang City Lord, King Yawu, and the Grand Elder had the same status in the Celestial Realm. Run. He had to run. Knight Sorrow knew that if the stalemate continued, this clone of his would die. Furthermore, there would be repercussions if his clone died in the hands of a big shot of the Devil Wing clan. The 9-domain origin bead was with his main body. If his clone died, his soul power would be destroyed or even collected to injure his main body with a secret technique. At this time, the Devil Wing clan had formed a circle and bombarded Knight Sorrow with all kinds of attacks. Crisis. Knight Sorrow had encountered an unprecedented crisis. At this time, he was already injured. It was because he didn't know the situation that he took Yutian Mo's first attack. Knight Sorrow used the Void Step and the Space-Time Realm to dodge and defend against Yutian Mo's attack. As for the attacks of Mo Lu and the others, Knight Sorrow didn't have the energy to pay attention to them. The main reason was that those attacks weren't fatal. Yutian Mo's attack was the most terrifying. Knight Sorrow also crushed King Yawu's soul crystal ball. However, he felt that there wasn't much hope. No matter how fast King Yawu was, he would still need some time. During this time, Yutian Mo could kill him a few times. In the turbulent void, Sikong Chuyu and the other's soul power passed through the Eight-Dragon Cauldron and the spatial barrier to observe the battle. Everyone was extremely nervous. They all knew what the situation was. The Devil Wing clan was a huge pit. They didn't fight with them at the beginning because of other reasons. Little Violet, fly at a safe distance. See if there's a chance to bring Knight Sorrow back. Sikong Chuyu communicated with Little Violet. Sikong Chuyu was very worried about Knight Sorrow. However, she couldn't ignore the safety of more than 300 people. Therefore, when she told Little Violet that she would bring Knight Sorrow back, it was also under the premise that the team was safe. Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi didn't contact Lin Piaomiao either. They saw Knight Sorrow crush King Yawu's soul crystal ball. Moreover, it was too late to inform King Yawu now. Mo Yutian's attacks were extremely violent and powerful. Knight Sorrow used the space-time realm to defend himself. Because Mo Yutian also had achievements in the space-time attribute, he could hurt Knight Sorrow through the spatial barrier. Even after Knight Sorrow's space-time realm weakened the time and space, Knight Sorrow's injuries continued to worsen. Knight Sorrow was shocked by the strength of Mo Yutian's attacks. Mo Yutian was also shocked by Knight Sorrow's combat strength. Even low-level Emperor Tribulation cultivators weren't as difficult to kill as Knight Sorrow. Human emperors of the human race are indeed strong and have excellent potential. However, you are unlucky to have met me. Mo Yutian increased the suppression of his domain. At the same time, his halberd attacks became even more violent. Blessing of the power of merit. After being recognized by Mo Yutian, Knight Sorrow didn't hesitate and used the power of merit to strengthen his domain. He didn't use the power of merit at first because he was afraid that Mo Yuqian would find out his identity and kill him at all costs. Since Mo Yuqian had made it clear, Knight Sorrow had no more scruples. Chapter 2010. Dodge and Defend. That was all Knight Sorrow could do. Although offense was the best defense, Knight Sorrow could not fight Yuqian Mo head-on. If he did, he would be giving Yuqian an opportunity to hurt him. Knight Sorrow charged toward the members of the Devil-Winged clan. He wanted them to become obstacles for Yuqian Mo to attack him. Get out of the way! Yuqian Mo knew that King Yawu was coming, so he wanted to kill Knight Sorrow with all his might. He knew how important Knight Sorrow was to the human race and the 100 races of the celestial realm. Yuqian Mo was faster than Yi Shang, Xianglong and Sui Yuan were also faster than Yi Shang, but the other members of the demon-winged race were not as fast. They were left behind by Yi Shang and became obstacles for Yuqian Mo to attack him. Knowing that time was running out, Yuqian Mo waved his great desolate war halberd. Sharp astral chi shot toward Knight Sorrow. Some dragon-headed and snake-headed people could not dodge in time and were killed. Forever's free to read. Novel. Knight Sorrow was also hit. A halberd light from the great desolate war halberd pierced through his body. Fortunately, Knight Sorrow's virtuous immortal body was strong and only a part of his body was injured. His body was not destroyed by the energy. While using the void steps and space-time realm, Knight Sorrow used the desolate Nirvana palm to control the members of the Devil-Winged clan. Then, the energy hand grabbed them and threw them behind him. Damn it! Great Desolate Extreme Dao Kill! Yuqian Mo roared and waved the Great Desolate War Halberd, using his ultimate move. Several black energy dragons flew toward Knight Sorrow. Everything in the path of the energy dragons collapsed. The Devil-Winged clan members, dragon-headed people, and snake-headed people were all killed. Knowing that he couldn't dodge, Knight Sorrow turned around, his entire body bursting with energy. The Blood Kirin Evil Vanquishing Spear trembled as it performed the Void Extreme Kill and Void Return to Origin Kill. He wanted to turn the space in front of him into his own energy attack zone, blocking Imperial Mo's energy bombardment. With a loud explosion, Knight Sorrow's sleeves were torn to shreds. His hands and forearms were covered in blood, and only his golden bones and tendons were left. His body was sent flying by the impact of the energy, and he spat out blood again. Even though Mo Yuqian had used his Heavenly Dao 9 Emperor's Tribulation cultivation, he had still managed to severely injure Knight Sorrow. Looking at Knight Sorrow, who was sent flying away but still in a highly focused state, Demon Royal waved his sleeves and brought the remaining members of his team into his space magic tool. Then, with a wave of the Great Desolate War Halberd, he cut open the space barrier and vanished. Seeing Knight Sorrow's state, Mo Yuqian knew that Knight Sorrow could still fight. He knew that it was unrealistic to kill Knight Sorrow in a few moves. If he delayed any longer, King Yawu would arrive. At that time, it would be a real bloody battle, and he didn't want to engage in such a battle right now. As for using his full cultivation, it wouldn't be difficult to kill Knight Sorrow. Once he used his full cultivation, the effect of the Wheel of Life and Death would no longer exist. When the opportunity appeared, he would no longer have a foothold on the Reincarnation Island. This operation would be a complete failure. Mo Yuqian wouldn't choose to do that. After Mo Yuqian left, Knight Sorrow's body floated down from the sky. His fleshless right hand supported his body with the Blood Kirin Evil Vanquishing Spear, but blood kept flowing out of his mouth. Little Z returned to Knight Sorrow's side. Looking at Little Z, Knight Sorrow smiled. Then, his body went limp and half-knelt on the ground. He didn't know why Mo Yuqian suddenly left. He really couldn't hold on any longer. He wouldn't be able to block that kind of attack twice. Just as Knight Sorrow was about to enter the 8-Dragon Cauldron and let Little Z take everyone away, a spatial storm appeared. A human figure condensed and waved his hand, wrapping Knight Sorrow with energy and stabilizing the chaotic energy in Knight Sorrow's body. Martial Uncle. Seeing who it was, Knight Sorrow felt relieved. Then, he didn't know what happened next. After helping Knight Sorrow sit down, King Yawu looked at the void. He had already rushed over as fast as he could, but he was still a bit slow. However, he felt that the situation was good. At least, he didn't let Knight Sorrow die. King Yawu didn't chase after him. He didn't have Mo Yuqian's sensing ability and couldn't determine the direction. The 8-dragon cauldron had an implement spirit. The implement spirit knew Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi. At their request, even without Night Sorrow's control, the implement spirit let everyone out. Is Night Sorrow okay? Sikong Chuyu supported the unconscious Night Sorrow and looked at King Yawu worriedly. It's not a big problem. He's tough. He didn't die even after encountering a top master of the Demon Wing clan. Very good. King Yawu's face was filled with relief and anger. He was relieved that Night Sorrow was only seriously injured. He was angry that Mo Yutian had controlled his aura to come to the Reincarnation Island and almost killed a human sovereign. King Yawu asked everyone to set up camp. Then, he helped Night Sorrow to keep Mo Yutian in his body and force out the destructive energy that was constantly producing. Then, Night Sorrow woke up. His arms had recovered a little. He cultivated the myriad Tao Tome, so the strength of his body was comparable to his cultivation. His regenerative ability was extremely strong, so it wasn't difficult for him to regenerate his flesh. No wonder that guy didn't continue to kill me. He knew that Uncle Master was coming. Your deterrence saved my life. Night Sorrow glanced at his sleeveless battle robe. Then, he stood up and saluted King Yawu. The key is whether you can withstand it. If you can't, you will be killed before Uncle Master arrives. No one can do anything about it. King Yawu smiled at Night Sorrow. He was very relieved because Night Sorrow satisfied him and made him happy. He even said that he saw the future. Even if he suppressed his cultivation, he almost killed me. He just didn't have the time, Night Sorrow said. That was Mo Yutian, one of the 3 grand heavens of the Demon Wing clan. Like Uncle Master, the city lord of Tianhuang City, and the Grand Elder, he has lived for 8 eras. Isn't his strength frightening? This is your tribulation. Since you didn't die, it means you survived. Don't worry about your injuries and let the void purple light snake continue to search for their whereabouts. Next time, I'll act, said King Yawu to Yishang. In the past, when King Yawu found traces of the Demon Wing clan, he didn't take action. That was because of his dignity as a strong cultivator and also to train his descendants. Now that he had confirmed the strength of the other party, it was time for him to take action. Night Sorrow told Little Z to continue searching for the Demon Wing clan. Then, Yang Lei helped him into Tianyu's tent to heal his injuries. Brother Shirsan, are you okay? Yimei asked worriedly. It's nothing. It's just that my body was damaged by the impact of the energy. The energy was forced out of my body by Uncle Master. I'll be fine after some recovery. But the feeling of being powerless is not good. I can only passively dodge and can't even fight back, Night Sorrow said with a sigh. This battle allowed Night Sorrow to see what a top expert was like. Even if he suppressed his cultivation, his actual combat strength was still shocking. That bastard is too shameless. He's a big shot of the Demon Wing clan. How dare he attack us? But our situation is not optimistic, Tianyu cursed. The overall situation doesn't matter. Mo Tianji is trapped in the Nether Realm. Her cultivation is below the Emperor Realm. It's hard for me to find her. But as long as she dares to enter the Emperor Realm, I can find her. So, she won't be able to do anything. With Uncle Master restraining Mo Yutian, he won't be able to do anything in the Reincarnation Island, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a while. Chapter 2011. Yes. I don't have the energy or time to look for her now. However, as long as she dares to break through to the Arch Realm, the world's origin will lock onto her, Night Sorrow said. She won't be able to do much below the Arch Realm. We can catch her if she's above the Arch Realm. In this situation, she won't be a threat, Aoi said. Yi Shang nodded. He was indeed not worried that Mo Tianji would be able to cause any trouble in the 9 regions world. She had possessed Zhu Jueyun, who was a heaven monarch. After fusing with Zhu Jueyun's body, she would have to transcend the tribulation if she wanted to do anything. Sikong Chuyu and the others chatted with Night Sorrow for a while before leaving Night Sorrow's tent. Night Sorrow needed to heal himself. King Yawu stood outside the campsite, looking terrible. He was furious. He had been tricked by Mo Yutian this time. Night Sorrow was fine. If something had happened to Night Sorrow, he wouldn't have been able to make up for it no matter what he did or how he took revenge. After everyone left the tent, Night Sorrow entered the 8-dragon cauldron to heal himself. He was seriously injured this time. Fortunately, King Yawu helped him to expel all the energy that Mo Yutian had left in his body. Otherwise, it would have been difficult for Night Sorrow to recover. Mo Yutian's energy was extremely domineering. It wasn't something that Night Sorrow's energy could suppress. Half a month later, Night Sorrow came out of seclusion and looked better. Seeing Night Sorrow come out, King Yawu went to him and smiled. This is one of your qualifications. This qualification has been recognized by the Council of Elders. It's rare that you could survive against Mo Yutian, one of the 3 giants of the Demon Wing clan. I didn't have the strength to fight back. It was very depressing, Night Sorrow said. Haha. Mo Yutian is an expert who has lived for 8 eras. What's his cultivation? 8 Emperor Tribulation. How many rounds do you plan to fight with him? King Yawu laughed after hearing Night Sorrow's words. He's also a human, not a god. I can't defeat him now, but I will in the future. Night Sorrow was filled with fighting spirit. King Yawu looked at Night Sorrow with a serious expression. He had always been worried that Mo Yutian's tyrannical strength would cast a shadow on Night Sorrow. But now, he realized that he was wrong. Night Sorrow was not affected at all. Instead, he was getting more and more courageous, and his battle intent was soaring. Uncle Master, I will try my best, but it will take some time, Night Sorrow said. I believe in you. As long as you are willing, there is nothing you can't do. This time, it seems to be a good thing. You can feel the strength and aura of a real expert in advance. King Yawu patted Night Sorrow's shoulder. Night Sorrow walked around the campsite and found that the sergeants of the First Army and the members of the Deicide squad were either meditating or practicing their combat skills. After walking around, Night Sorrow waved at the nothingness purple light snake king that was wandering around the campsite. The nothingness purple light snake king circled around and landed on Night Sorrow's arm. Little Purple. Thank you. At that time, I was afraid that my brothers and sisters would be in danger. Night Sorrow reached out and patted the nothingness purple light snake king's body. The nothingness purple light snake king's body trembled, and then some soul waves were transmitted into Night Sorrow's spiritual sea. Little Purple felt that it was what it should do. It was also a part of the celestial realm, so it should do what it should do. Night Sorrow reached out and patted the nothingness purple light snake king's head. Little Purple. You are good. If the celestial realm wins the war on the Samsara Island, you will make a great contribution. Kel. After listening to Night Sorrow's words, the nothingness purple light snake king excitedly circled around Night Sorrow's arm. Night Sorrow and Little Purple communicated again. The group of nothingness purple light snakes began a comprehensive investigation on the Samsara Island. They began to set up defenses in the areas where formations could be set up, but to no avail. This result was within Night Sorrow's expectations. At this time, the Celestial Realm and Heaven Wasteland were in a showdown on the Samsara Island. They were even aware of each other's strength. Naturally, Mo Yutian could not act at will. If he and the team stayed in the space magic treasure, the group of nothingness purple light snakes would not be able to find them. Night Sorrow and the others did not act again. If the group of nothingness purple light snakes could not find the whereabouts of the demon-winged clan, then it was even more hopeless for the team to find them. It was better to rest and cultivate. 2 months later, the Grand Elder brought the Spirit Tree Elder and Shuchuan of the Spirit Tree clan to the Samsara Island. They arranged for Shuchuan to stay in some of the required security areas on the Samsara Island. Then, they also came to the campsite. The Grand Elder knew that Night Sorrow and Mo Yutian had met. He also felt somewhat lucky because Night Sorrow's accident would have a great impact on the Celestial Realm. The human emperor was the symbol of the Celestial Realm. If he died, the consequences would be very serious. The Grand Elder and King Yawu stood outside the campsite and looked at the storm in the sky. Lord of Yawu City, we are really lucky this time. However, Night Sorrow was also greatly affected. Mo Yutian and the others hid too well, the Grand Elder said. I was also worried at first. I was worried that Night Sorrow would be affected and his momentum would be affected. However, in reality, Night Sorrow's mentality is very good. It has increased his motivation, King Yawu said. He could understand the Grand Elder's worries because he had the same worries before. Wu Shuang has taken in a good disciple. How enviable! Night Sorrow was exiled when he came to the heavenly desolate city for the first time. That Xiao Jun was also very fast. I did not see him during the night. Otherwise, it would not have been Wushuang's turn, the Grand Elder said. The Grand Elder cultivated the spear Dao and did not have a suitable disciple until now. If Yan Wushuang had found Night Sorrow before he met Night Sorrow, he would have definitely taken in Night Sorrow as his disciple. This is fate. However, he can't inherit Wushuang's mantle yet. He can't accept anyone's inheritance because he has his own Dao, and it is the great Dao, King Yawu said. Then what about Wushuang's sword Dao? That is one of the top inheritances of humans. It cannot be broken. After hearing King Yawu's words, the Grand Elder thought of another problem. It will not be broken. When Night Sorrow's Dao is formed, he will not be influenced by other Daos. When he can use other Daos to perfect himself, Wushuang's sword Dao can be inherited. Fan Tian is more suitable, but he will have to wait. King Yawu shook his head. He was not worried that Yan Wushuang's inheritance would be broken. Fan Tian was very suitable, but he would have to wait until Night Sorrow could study sword Dao. After Mo Yutian left with the demon-winged clan, he hid with the help of a spatial treasure. He also knew that the reason why Night Sorrow and the others had discovered him several times was because the void purple light snakes were the spies of the celestial realm. Great Elder Yutian, what should we do now? Mo Lu felt that the prospects of this operation were not very good because they had been in a passive state. It's not easy to deal with. We will continue to look for opportunities. If it doesn't work, then we can only give up on this strategic deployment. The celestial realm has already made arrangements for what we can think of, Mo Yutian said. Chapter 2012. Tell me the details. Yutian Mo looked at Xianglong and asked. There is a large cavern in the inner part of the Demon Mountain. The energy storm inside is not too strong and the area is large enough to set up a formation. Setting up a defensive formation inside the cavern should not be a problem to defend against the Void Storm and Void Storm, Xianglong said. That's a good choice. Let's go and take a look. After some thought, Yutian Mo felt that Xianglong's suggestion was more feasible. Then I will lead the way. Xianglong said. No, the void purple light snakes are their eyes. Everyone enter the spatial treasure. Xianglong, you will lead the way. Xianglong, Zhiyuan, if this is successful, I will recommend you to enter the Demon Lord Palace. I will even allow your two tribes to marry into the Demon Wing tribe. Yutian Mo looked at Xianglong and Zhiyuan. The Demon Wing tribe valued bloodlines very much. They constantly developed descendants of other tribes, but the direct bloodline was always pure. Those with direct bloodlines would only marry members of the same bloodline. Hearing Yutian Mo's words, Xianglong and Zhiyuan bowed in gratitude. Once they entered the Demon Lord Palace, they would become elders of the Demon Wing tribe. Their status and position would be very high and they would be respected by the Demon Wing tribe. As for marriage, even if it was a side branch, it would allow the dragon-headed and snake-headed people to survive and establish a foothold in the Demon Wing tribe. Under Xianglong's guidance, Yutian Mo hurried along with the spatial treasure. His soul power was strong and he could detect the void purple light snakes in advance. Hence, he was not afraid of being discovered. Yutian Mo's speed was extremely fast, and he managed to avoid all of the void purple light snakes from afar. However, he did not notice that while he was flying, there were two beads below him that were different from other plants. They were two trees with stone-like skin. On this day, Night Sorrow, who was practicing his spear skills, was called into the tent by King Yawu. In the tent, the Grand Elder and Elder Spiritual Tree were seated. Greetings, Grand Elder. Greetings, Elder Spiritual Tree. Night Sorrow cupped his hands in greeting. Haha, you're still so polite. You are the human emperor of the celestial realm. You don't need to greet anyone. Elder Lingshu returned the greeting to Night Sorrow. Human emperor doesn't need it, but Night Sorrow does. Night Sorrow respects seniors who work hard for the celestial realm, Night Sorrow said. Let's all sit down and talk. Night Sorrow, the situation is like this. The Spirit Tree Clan's Shu found Mo Yutian flying past this area. King Yawu pointed at a map on the table. The map was based on the map drawn by Lingling, with some additions. It was a map of the entire Reincarnation Island. At this time, King Yawu pointed to an area. Night Sorrow took a look and then looked at Elder Spirit Tree. Did Shu report the direction of Mo Yutian's flight and which direction he flew in when he passed by? Yes, he flew from the northwest to the southeast, Elder Spirit Tree said. Southeast. Southeast. Let me think. Normally, when he left here last time, he shouldn't have appeared in this explored area. When he passed by this area, he flew in the southeast direction. There are Broken Sky Mountain and Demon Mountain in the southeast. There are many void whirlpools near Broken Sky Mountain, which is not suitable for a formation. In addition, there are many void purple light snakes. His destination may be Demon Mountain. Night Sorrow thought for a while and came to his own opinion and conclusion. Yes, just now the three of us analyzed and felt that this possibility was relatively high. After all, there are dragon-headed and snake-headed people in his team who know Demon Mountain well. King Yawu said. The dragon-headed and snake-headed people are very strong. Even if our sergeants of the First Army set up a formation, they can't compete with them. They are Emperor Tribulation Masters. They should have lived in Demon Mountain for a long time. Mo Yutian chose Demon Mountain because he is in the process of cleaning it up. However, Demon Mountain is very large. It is difficult to find them without knowing their specific location. Night Sorrow said the possibility and difficulties. It is indeed a problem. Then we will camp in Demon Mountain and station in the core area, King Yawu said. We can set up a stronghold in Demon Mountain and set up a transmission formation. Some cultivators can come to this area to train and find traces of the Demon Wing clan. In order to avoid being killed after being found, the news can't be transmitted. Only cultivators with doppelgangers are allowed to go. No matter what happens, even if they die, the news can be transmitted back. Night Sorrow said his suggestion. King Yawu, Grand Elder, and Elder Spirit Tree agreed with Night Sorrow's suggestion. Then the team gathered and set off for Demon Mountain. Under the control of the Void Purple Light Snake King, the group of Void Purple Light Snakes did not cause trouble. The team moved forward at full speed. It did not take long for them to reach Demon Mountain. King Yawu looked around and found a suitable area. It was a large platform in the middle of the main peak of Demon Mountain. The mountain platform was very large. It had a radius of hundreds of miles. Night Sorrow, it should not be a problem to set up a defensive and space-stabilizing formation within a radius of 600 miles. What do you think of the core area of the formation as a stronghold? King Yawu asked Night Sorrow. Very good. The distance from here to Tianhuang City is not far. A monarch-level transmission formation will do. The main thing is to set up a defensive formation and space-stabilizing formation, Night Sorrow said. Uncle, are you going to set up the formation or do you? King Yawu looked around the platform again and asked. Okay. I will do it. Uncle, you don't have to trouble yourself. However, you have to pay attention to the formation and remind me if there are any mistakes, Night Sorrow said and accepted the task. Hearing that Night Sorrow accepted the task, the Grand Elder threw a storage ring to Night Sorrow. Grand Elder, you don't have to. Night Sorrow brought the Holy Spirit Stone, Night Sorrow said. I know you have a lot of money, but this is a matter of the 100 races of the Celestial Realm. I can't let you pay the Holy Spirit Stone. The 100 races of the Celestial Realm have a lot of money, the Grand Elder said with a smile. Take it. Although you have the ability, you are still a junior in the 100 races. Everyone will only support you. How can we drag you down? King Yawu nodded at Night Sorrow. Then, Night Sorrow's team began to tidy up the platform. Night Sorrow asked them to set up the formation. Night Sorrow also began to set up the formation. What Yishang didn't know was that Mo Yutian was also in charge of repairing the terrain and fixing the foundation of the formation. He was beginning to set up the grand formation. King Yawu, Mo Yutian, and the Grand Elder's soul power were very strong. However, it was not strong enough to see through the mountain. Neither side knew what the other was doing. They were all studying the formation. Chapter 2013. After listening to King Yawu and the Grand Elder's guidance, Night Sorrow's array Dao cultivation had also improved. How could a defensive array have such a strong defensive power? Naturally, there were offensive formations that contained domineering power. In addition, it also had the effect of controlling and stabilizing space-time. It could be said that it was a comprehensive test of one's cultivation in the art of formations. Knight Sorrow improved his understanding of the Tao of array formations in the process of setting up the formation. Setting up a stronghold on Samsara Island and setting up an all-around formation would consume a lot of resources and manpower. Yi Shang used 4 months to finish setting up the defensive Grand Array. Uncle Master, I think it's ready. Can you start it? After setting up the last array base, Knight Sorrow came to King Yawu's side. It's very fast, and the array formation is very mature. Then, I'll activate it. King Yawu said as he took out a spirit stone to activate the defensive array formation. With the activation of the array, the energy near the platform halfway up Fiend Mountain began to vibrate. Following that, the energy within the array stabilized, turning into a stable space. Very good. Once the teleportation array is set up, we can start the teleportation. King Yawu said. In 4 months, we have set up a great defensive array and completed the construction of the outpost. I wonder where Mo Yutian and his men have been hiding during these 4 months. The nothingness purple light snake and the stone tree were unable to find any traces of them. Knight Sorrow was still feeling somewhat worried. Translator, Namiyumi Editor. Namiyumi Upper E. Plus as they were talking, the great magic array, which had been operating smoothly, fell into a state of chaos. An energy storm even appeared within the magic array's area, seemingly on the verge of exploding. King Yawu waved his arm and took out a Saint Spirit Stone from the base of the formation to stop the operation of the formation. Uncle Master, is there a problem with the array I set up? That shouldn't be the case. I've checked it multiple times. Knight Sorrow asked in surprise. Indeed, it shouldn't be like this. When you were setting it up, I looked at it carefully. There was no conflict. Besides, if it didn't make sense, it wouldn't be activated. There's no reason for it to be unstable after activation. Let's try activating it again. King Yawu didn't understand. Then, King Yawu activated the formation again, and the defensive formation began to operate. At this moment, inside the cave, Yutian Mo was also puzzled. Just now, he had activated the array, but the effect was not good. The energy storm swept over and almost destroyed everything in the cave. Fortunately, he had stopped the array in time. He checked the array again, and after confirming that there were no problems, he activated the array again. When Mo Yutian activated the array formation, the energy storm appeared once again. The array formation shook and its foundation became unstable. Mo Yutian had no choice but to stop the operation of the array formation and begin his inspection. What Mo Yutian did not know was that when he activated the formation, King Yawu, the Grand Elder, and Knight Sorrow, who were on the platform halfway up the Demon Mountain, were shocked and stopped the defense formation. What's going on? Knight Sorrow was confused. This isn't a problem with the array formation itself. It's an external interference. It should be that the Demon Mountain region will have some energy impact every once in a while. This array formation must be watched by someone. If it doesn't work, it will be stopped. However, we don't dare to use the teleportation array formation even if it's set up. If the energy goes berserk halfway through the teleportation, it will be troublesome, King Yawu said. As a cultivator who had been cultivating for countless months, King Yawu was naturally able to analyze that it wasn't a problem with the array formation itself. It still needs someone to watch over it. This is really troublesome. Knight Sorrow muttered. Under such circumstances, he couldn't leave. Even if he had news of the Demon Wing clan, he couldn't go. Knight Sorrow, don't worry. I'm fine. I'll watch over this array formation. If the energy goes berserk, I can stop the operation of the array formation and restart it after a while. Elder Spiritual Tree could see Knight Sorrow's dilemma. Then I'll have to trouble you, Elder Spiritual Tree. Knight Sorrow cupped his hands at Elder Spiritual Tree. After Mo Yutian paused the array formation, he began to think about the arrangement of his own array formation. After checking it, Mo Yutian shook his head. He felt that it was wrong to doubt himself. How could he have set up an unreasonable array formation? Mo Yutian felt that the energy was unstable and that it was the Void Vortex's fault. It wasn't a problem with the array formation itself. Mo Yutian studied the array formation. He would start it every once in a while. This was a torture for Elder Spiritual Tree. Every time he started the array formation, elder spiritual tree would have to stop the array formation and start it again. First opportunity. Because Night Sorrow and the others had started the array formation first, Mo Yutian's array formation couldn't be started. No one had thought that the two arrays would clash. They just thought that the natural conditions of Samsara Island weren't suitable for setting up an array formation. Mo Yutian didn't think of changing locations. If he couldn't set up an array in the cave, there was no point in changing locations. King Yawu and the others also didn't think of changing locations because there wasn't a more suitable place. Things were in a deadlock. Mo Yutian would start the array every once in a while. He wanted to test if the energy was stable and if the array could operate stably. He could wait 100 years or even 1,000 years. As long as Samsara Island's energy was stable and the array of this stronghold could operate, then Samsara Island's strategic deployment would be successful. Celestial Realm's troops never stopped searching the Devil-Winged Race's troops on Samsara Island because this was very important to the safety of the Celestial Realm. After a year, Shu and the Void Purple Light Snake had finished setting up camp on Samsara Island under Night Sorrow and Elder Spiritual Tree's arrangements. This meant that they didn't need to search. As long as the Devil-Winged Race appeared, they would be discovered. In a year's time in the real world and 4 months of setting up the array, Night Sorrow's main body had cultivated in the center of the Void Vortex for close to 50 years. He had achieved quite a bit. After the Destruction attribute, his Time and Space attribute had entered the Peak Emperor rank. His Void attribute was close to the 8-star Emperor rank and was just 1 step away from the Peak Emperor rank. However, it was stuck at a bottleneck. Night Sorrow was currently researching the Limitless attribute and using other attributes to push his Void attribute up. As for the Destruction attribute that had entered the Peak Emperor rank, after 40 years of accelerated cultivation, he had made some progress. His comprehension was close to 91%. This speed was extremely slow according to Night Sorrow's past cultivation speed. However, Night Sorrow knew that this was normal. Peak Emperor rank was able to comprehend 10% of the power of heaven and earth to increase 1 rank. However, after reaching Peak Emperor rank, every 10% comprehension was a calamity. In this year's time, Devil Mountain's defensive array had vibrated 7 or 8 times. At first, the frequency was high, but later on, the frequency decreased. Every once in a while, Mo Yutian would activate the defensive array he had set up. Chapter 2014. Mo Tianji had to make a choice now. She had cultivated to the peak stage of the Heaven Monarch realm. She could hide her current cultivation level, but if she wanted to increase her cultivation level, she would have to go through the tribulation. She knew very well that going through the tribulation would cause a change in heaven and earth energy. The change in heaven and earth energy couldn't be hidden from Night Sorrow, who was the realm lord. If she didn't go through the wind and fire tribulations, she would only be below the emperor. After thinking about it, Mo Tianji couldn't think of a way to avoid Night Sorrow's detection and go through the tribulation secretly. A realm lord who had fused with the world's origin was too powerful in his own world. His abilities were unimaginable. Mo Tianji didn't want any more problems because she couldn't take the damage to her soul spirit. Also, she didn't want to give up her current body because it was very compatible with her. It was more suitable for her cultivation than the woman with the pure Yin body found in the demon wing race. After thinking for a while, Mo Tianji came up with 2 plans. However, they both required her to leave the 9 regions world to go through the tribulation. The first plan was to use the spatial treasure and think of a way to force someone to bring her out of the 9 regions world without her knowing. However, she had to give up on fighting Night Sorrow in the 9 regions world. She had to give up her current plan of taking back her original body. The second plan was to create some spatial disturbances. For example, she could trigger an energy riot in the realm sea near other spatial worlds or volcanic eruptions. She could use the energy riot to rush out of the spatial crack and go to other spatial small worlds to go through the tribulation. Both plans had their disadvantages. The first plan was that when she used the teleportation array, she would be easily discovered by Night Sorrow. The result would be that she would be chased endlessly and would be forced to give up her current body. If she used her current body to fight, she wouldn't be a match for Night Sorrow. The difference was too great. She couldn't even escape even if she wanted to. If she was discovered, she could only escape with her soul spirit. The second plan was based on the carelessness of the world's origin. They did not discover that the eruption was man-made, but the possibility was not high. This was because the world's origin was very sensitive to the energy changes in its own world. The energy storms and volcanic eruptions in the world were almost all under the control of the world's origin. A sudden abnormal situation would definitely be noticed. After thinking about it, Mo Tianji decided to go with the first option and leave completely. She was tired. She lost every time she fought with Night Sorrow. She was scared and didn't want to have anything to do with Night Sorrow anymore. She knew that she wasn't as lucky as Night Sorrow. Even if she fought with him, she would still lose. As for the original body, she didn't plan to fight for it anymore. At least, she wouldn't do it before she recovered her peak strength. Mo Tianji smiled wryly after making this decision. It had been 8 epochs. She never thought that she would admit defeat to someone in her heart, but she had to do so now. With a choice, Mo Tianji started to make a plan to leave the 9-domain world. The plan had to be meticulous because it was related to her future and whether she could survive or not. In the end, Mo Tianji decided to use the advantage of her powerful soul power to kill an ordinary human or a common demon cultivator in the 9-domain world. Then, she would leave with the spatial magic treasure. After staying in the 9-domain city for a while, Mo Tianji, who had a good understanding of the 9-domain world, decided to control a netherworld race expert. A netherworld race expert with a suitable cultivation and a suitable reason to leave. This way, they could justifiably leave the 9-domain world. Mo Tianji chose a candidate, a nether king from the nether realm. Back then, the strongest expert in the netherworld realm was the 9-yin underworld king, Zhu Jiuyun. She had many underworld kings under her command. However, because of the battle with the 9-domain world, the 7 evils king, 8 desolation king, and the others all died in battle. Zhu Jiuyun was the only underworld king left. However, more underworld kings were born later on. Mo Tianji chose an underworld king who was closest to her. She planned to destroy the underworld king's clone first, then wipe out the soul of the underworld king's original body and control his body to leave. Because the plan was meticulous and careful, Mo Tianji's plan succeeded. The underworld king called Si Tan was killed by Mo Tianji's clone in the city lord's manor. After his original body was controlled, he took Mo Tianji's spatial magic treasure and left through the teleportation formation. Because Si Tan was an underworld king from the netherworld realm, Lin Piaomiao's clone guarding the teleportation formation did not stop him. Night Sorrow did not know about this. It was mainly because Mo Tianji's plan was very logical. Mo Tianji reached the 9-domain city and arrived at the teleportation formation. The person guarding it was the expert from the profound mysteries realm, Xian Wenxiu. Xian Wenxiu knew about the situation of the netherworld race. When he learned that Si Tan, who was already a high-level Saint King, wanted to go to the celestial realm to increase his knowledge, he agreed. He also hoped that the local cultivators of the 9-domain world could become stronger and keep up with the development of the 9-domain world. Cultivators from the outside world were gradually coming to the 9-domain world. If the local cultivators did not work hard, they would be left behind. After Mo Tianji reached the Star Moon City, she did not dare to stay. She left through the teleportation formation. Right now, she wanted to stay away from everything related to Night Sorrow. She did not want to go to the Star Moon City. Plus, with her current strength, it was very difficult for her to do anything there. The information of the 9-domain world was very developed. On the 3rd day after Mo Tianji left, someone discovered something. Someone asked to see Si Tan and found the corpse of Si Tan's clone. In order to minimize the energy ripples, Mo Tianji destroyed the soul of Si Tan's clone. She did not purposely destroy the body of Si Tan's clone. When the person saw Si Tan's corpse, he naturally reported it. It was a big matter that the underworld king had been killed. Initial O number 7 when Taishu Yan, who was in charge of the 9 domains world's commander-in-chief's office, received the news. She immediately contacted Night Sorrow's 9 domains doppelganger. Night Sorrow's 9 realms doppelganger arrived in the nether realm and ordered the teleportation formation to be shut down. Then, he and Lin Piaomiao's doppelganger, who was guarding the teleportation formation, went to Stan's residence to investigate. Noticing the appearance of Si Tan's doppelganger, Lin Piaomiao's expression changed. She told Night Sorrow that this Nether King had left the Nether Realm via the teleportation array 3 days ago and went to the 9-region city. Night Sorrow and Lin Piaomiao naturally understood what this meant. The two of them didn't continue investigating the King of Hell Mansion. Instead, They went straight to Nine Regions City to ask Xian Wenxiu, who was guarding the teleportation array. Xian Wenxiu didn't know what was going on. Seeing that Night Sorrow was asking about Stan, he explained. Misty, I can't leave. Why don't you go to Star Moon City and take a look? Night Sorrow said to Lin Misty. Lin Piaomiao went to Star Moon City to investigate and found out that Stan had left. Then, she returned to the Nine Regions world and told Night Sorrow about the situation. Mo Tianji ran away. There's nothing we can do about it. Unless we directly seal the Nether Realm and shut down the teleportation formation. I thought about it before, but that would delay the development of the Nine Regions world. Night Sorrow sighed. This is my negligence. I didn't think about this. I didn't think that Mo Tianji would control the bodies of other cultivators and leave, Lin Piaomiao said. So what if she ran away? If she doesn't leave the Nine Regions world, she can only be below the Emperor level. She was afraid, so she left without a care. In fact, I'm not afraid either. Her being in the Nine Regions world is like a knife hanging over my heart. Night Sorrow laughed bitterly. But she ran away. It will be difficult to catch her again, Lin Piaomiao said. No, we have Zhu Juyun's essence blood. Night Sorrow shook his head. Chapter 2015. After Zhu Juyun's clone was possessed, the Grand Elder used a secret technique to sever the connection between Zhu Juyun's main body and his clone. This was to prevent Mo Tianji from harming Zhu Juyun's main body. However, before he severed the connection, he left behind Zhu Juyun's essence blood. The essence blood and the clone could form a connection. Night Sorrow planned to use the essence blood left behind by Zhu Juyun to deal with Mo Tianji. However, he had to wait. Mo Tianji's cultivation was below the Emperor realm. She couldn't leave the Celestial realm. His main body and battle clone were busy at Reincarnation Island. There were priorities. Reincarnation Island's matter was the most important. He couldn't let the demon winged race gain a foothold there. Once the demon winged race used Reincarnation Island as a springboard to invade the Celestial realm, Sky Desolate City's existence would be meaningless. The enemy would invade the core of the city. I wasn't attentive enough. Lin Piaomiao looked at Night Sorrow apologetically. Sister Xian, you think too much. Some things can't be avoided. Actually, I feel more at ease now that Mo Tianji has escaped. There are no hidden dangers within our city. My family is the most important to me. The Nine Domain world is where my roots are. Night Sorrow hugged Lin Piaomiao and said. Lin Piaomiao nodded. She felt a little guilty. She could understand Night Sorrow's mentality. After leaving the Star Moon Lake region, Mo Tianji felt more at ease. The Celestial realm was much safer than the Nine Domain world. This was because there was no powerful realm lord. After she was safe, Mo Tianji felt a little worried. She was safer, but she gave up a lot of opportunities. She gave up the chance to possess the main body. She even gave up the chance to control the Nine Domain world. %B start %JIT was a great opportunity. However, there were some risks that Mo Tianji wasn't willing to take. Staying alive was the most important thing. Besides, she felt that her current body wasn't bad. She would recover her strength quickly. Only with strength would she have the confidence to fight Night Sorrow again. After reaching the Heaven World's deep desolation, Mo Tianji released her cultivation and triggered the trials of wind and fire. She had to reach the Monarch realm first. After Mo Tianji escaped, Night Sorrow's battle clone told King Yawu and the Grand Elder about it. He also apologized. After all, he had left a hidden danger in the Celestial realm. After hearing the whole story, King Yawu shook his head and said, Mo Tianji has planned this. You can't defend against her. Besides, she knows that her real body is in the Nine Domain world, but she doesn't dare to stay in the Nine Domain world. This means that she is afraid. If a cultivator is afraid, it means that her Dao heart is already unstable. Her fate is just so she won't be a big threat. Night Sorrow, don't blame yourself. The Nine Domain world is the future supreme world. It's very important to the human race and the Celestial Realm's 100 races. There can't be any unstable factors. It's a good thing that she left. At least we know that the rear is stable. The Grand Elder also spoke. He knew Night Sorrow's personality and knew that he had to talk to him. Plus, This kind of thing should be the responsibility of the older generation. Knight Sorrow shouldn't have to shoulder it. Knight Sorrow nodded. He understood that King Yawu and the Grand Elder didn't want him to be under too much pressure. Uncle, Grand Elder, don't worry. I have the essence blood of Zhu Jiuyun before she cut off the connection between her original body and her avatar. After the crisis on Samsara Island is resolved, I'll go to the celestial realm to catch her. If she can't kill me, I'll kill her, Knight Sorrow said. I don't know if you can kill her, but I'm sure she can't kill you. The 3 grand heavens of the Demon Wing clan haven't shown up for a long time. You're so young, but you've already crossed paths with 2 of them. You're still alive. It's rare. The Grand Elder patted Knight Sorrow's shoulder. In the past, the appearance of each of the 3 grand heavens of the Demon Wing clan represented a reign of terror. They were all a blow to the celestial realm. However, in this era, Mo Tianji and Mo Yuqian appeared one after another, but they didn't do anything. It could even be said that they were in a passive state when facing Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow, Uncle and the Grand Elder have talked. The biggest danger on Samsara Island is the Void Purple Light Snakes. Can you communicate with the Void Purple Light Snake Kings and ask them not to harm the practitioners of the 100 races of the Celestial Realm? This way, we can send 2 unified armies into Samsara Island and carry out a comprehensive defense, King Yawu said. Hearing King Yawu's words, Knight Sorrow waved his hand and asked Little Z, who was with Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Ahoy to come over. After receiving Little Z's affirmative answer, Knight Sorrow nodded to King Yawu. You are a being of the Celestial Realm. It is natural for you to work hard for the stability of the Celestial Realm. However, I am very grateful for your understanding. King Yawu looked at Little Z and said. Little Z shook its body and shook its head. It naturally knew that King Yawu was a big shot. It was very happy to receive his affirmation. Then, the Grand Elder went to make arrangements for the Celestial Wasteland Army. They didn't dare to use the teleportation formation, so he had to bring the people back and forth. Uncle Master, I plan to comprehend the swordsmanship that Master left behind. Yi Shang told King Yawu his thoughts. No, you can only comprehend it after you pass the Heavenly Emperor's tribulation. King Yawu rejected Knight Sorrow's suggestion and gave a condition. Knight Sorrow didn't understand. He felt that there was nothing for his clone to cultivate. He felt that cultivating Yan Wushuang's sword Dao could increase his strength. Your Dao is different from your master's. You have your own Dao, the Dao of moral cultivation and the Dao of taboo samsara. Before the Heavenly Emperor's tribulation comes, your Dao is not stable enough. It is not suitable for you to come into contact with your master's taboo sword Dao. It will have a great impact on your Dao and won't do you any good. King Yawu explained the reason. He taught Knight Sorrow the same way he taught his disciple, so he didn't hide anything. Thank you for your advice, Uncle. I understand. Knight Sorrow bowed to King Yawu. You don't have to be so polite with me. You are the human emperor of the human race, but you are also the successor of the divine capital. Therefore, I look forward to your growth, King Yawu said with a smile. Knight Sorrow understood that supporting the human emperor of the human race was based on the overall situation. King Yawu also had personal feelings. Then, King Yawu asked about Knight Sorrow's cultivation. Knight Sorrow told King Yawu about the cultivation of his various attributes. It is difficult to advance them simultaneously, but they are balanced. You made the right choice. Don't be in a hurry to advance the destruction and space-time attributes. First, improve the nothingness and Wuji attributes. If your achievements in each attribute are high, your taboo attribute will be strong and you will have no shortcomings, King Yawu said. Chapter 2016. Taboo attributes were a combination of attributes. For example, the reincarnation attribute was a combination of destruction, space, time, life, and death attributes. It could also be said that it was a combination of destruction, space-time, and infinity attributes. The achievement of these attributes determined the achievement and power of the reincarnation taboo attribute. For example, if several attributes were below 30% of the power of heaven and earth, then the combination would be a beginner taboo attribute. If several attributes were at 40% to 60% of the power of heaven and earth, then the combination would be an intermediate taboo attribute. If several attributes were at 70% to 90% of the power of heaven and earth, then the combination would be an advanced taboo attribute. If several attributes were cultivated to the Emperor Tribulation level, then the combination would be a top-level taboo attribute. Of course, if several attributes were cultivated to the Emperor Tribulation level, then the combination would be a perfect taboo attribute. It's so complicated. Uncle, I'm more compatible with the nothingness and space-time attributes. The destruction attribute is average, and I'm not good at the infinity attribute. It's probably more difficult to cultivate all of them. Night Sorrow said. Haha, you're already an intermediate taboo attribute. Are you afraid that you won't be able to achieve it in the future? Take it slow. This reincarnation hasn't entered the 9th era yet. I'll give you an era. I believe that you won't have a problem cultivating a top-level taboo attribute, let alone an advanced one. King Yawu was very confident in Night Sorrow because Night Sorrow was very young and had accumulated a very strong foundation. I'll work hard. Night Sorrow nodded. The key to understanding and cultivating attributes is the foundation and starting point. It's too difficult to have the supreme attribute. In the entire celestial realm, there's only one person who has the supreme attribute as a foundation. There are others who have cultivated it to perfection, but they all spent countless years to deduce. The supreme attribute is only a foundation. It's also extremely difficult to have the 4 advanced attributes. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called a taboo attribute, King Yawu said. Since I have the unique conditions, what I need to do is to make full use of them, Night Sorrow said. After chatting with King Yawu for a while, Yishang felt a lot more cheerful. The road ahead would be very difficult, but it was not like he could not see the light. Everything had entered a rapid development, and he had a good foundation. The Grand Elder left to make arrangements for the Heaven Wasteland army to enter the Samsara Island. As for whether Mo Yutian and the others had successfully established a stronghold, Night Sorrow was not worried because there was no such possibility at the moment. Samsara Island could be said to be under the surveillance of the people of the Celestial Realm. It would be difficult for the Demon-Winged clan to do anything. A few days later, the Grand Elder led the 2 Heaven Wasteland armies to Samsara Island and began their training and exploration. Seeing that the Heaven Wasteland army had arrived, Night Sorrow decided to leave. He wanted to go back and capture Mo Tianji. J. Look at X Right Edition, Chapter S, Section H above. Why, however, the Grand Elder and King Yawu did not agree because they felt that Night Sorrow's cultivation was a big deal. Also, they felt that Mo Tianji would not be able to do much. The mayor's clone arrived at the Samsara Island too. While the 3 leaders were chatting, they also called Night Sorrow over. The members of the First Army and the God-Slaying team are in good condition. They have a bright future. After you appeared, you brought vitality to the Heaven Wasteland city, the Tranhung said as he glanced at the stronghold's camping area. This is because I came back alive. If I had fallen on Heaven Wasteland, how could I have survived? Night Sorrow muttered. Haha. My great prophecy technique is not fake. If I say you won't die, you won't die. Besides, that kind of high-pressure cultivation is only good for you, the Tranhung said with a smile. Yes. Look at how energetic you are now. You're also positive. It's good to be young, the Grand Elder said with a smile. They're very happy. With such a group of positive people in the celestial realm, the future is full of hope, the mayor said. Night Sorrow. My generation is very tired. They're not afraid of dying in battle, but they're afraid that they can't bear it. I'm afraid that in our generation, in the era we live in, the Heaven Realm will fall. I'm also afraid that there won't be any talents left in the Heaven Realm. If that's the case, we'll have to endure to the end until we're reduced to ashes. We'll be unwilling to leave, King Yawu said. There's still a lot of time. Isn't there another epoch? I only have one epoch. When the time comes, I'll have to go through the baptism of the highest tribulation like you, the mayor, and the Grand Elder. If we can pass it, we'll pass it together. If we fail, there's nothing to say. Night Sorrow said. He had the forbidden attribute. After an epoch, the God-Slaying tribulation would come. According to his lifespan, the mayor, King Yawu, and the Grand Elder would also have to go through the God-Slaying tribulation. That's right. You're also under a lot of pressure. So, don't worry too much about Mo Tianji, who hasn't even become an emperor yet. Besides, it's not easy to find her. She has treasures that can avoid divination. Plus, she has spatial treasures that can hide her whereabouts. It's not easy to find her if she really wants to hide. Mayor, Mo Tianji has been through so much. Is she really done for? The Grand Elder looked at the mayor after saying a few words. The continuous attacks have caused great damage to Mo Tianji. It can be said that her soul is irrecoverable. Even though she's a cultivator who has passed the god-slaying tribulation of the 7 emperors, her strength is no longer the same as her cultivation level. As for her immortal potential, she's already gone. It's unknown whether she can pass the next emperor-slaying tribulation. The mayor nodded. Then, the mayor told Knight Sorrow some of the decisions they had discussed with the elders. They were about to enter the last epoch of this reincarnation cycle. In the last epoch, the celestial realm didn't plan to be conservative anymore. They wanted to invade Tianhuang and have a real fight with the Demon Wing clan, which was the final battle. The celestial realm has the 100 Races Alliance. The Demon Wing clan has the 100 Kings tribe. They're all branches of the Demon Wing clan. Knight Sorrow, you may not understand. In the Demon Wing clan, only a tribe with a king can be called a king tribe. King is a title that only the Demon Wing clan above the god-slaying tribulation of the 5 emperors can have. The final battle will be between the Celestial Realm and the Demon Wing clan in the deserted world in Tianhuang, King Yawu said. I understand. There are many divine beast races in the Celestial Realm. Plus, the 100 races are united, so we'll face the battle calmly. Knight Sorrow didn't feel any pressure. After returning to his tent, Knight Sorrow made a pot of tea and thought about something. He understood why the mayor didn't let him go back. Even with Zhu Jiuyun's essence and blood, he might not be able to catch Mo Tianji. Mo Tianji had a treasure that could prevent her from being divined. What he needed now was to improve his strength. While Knight Sorrow was thinking, Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi entered Knight Sorrow's tent. They all looked excited. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.